Hey, hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going live a little later than normal today. Tunachip will be joining us here very shortly. But I wanted to get on the camera, give it a chance for you guys to come on in, to settle down a little bit, right? Ask you questions. Cernus? I think it's Cernus. I'm not sure how to say your name. I'm terrible at pronouncing names. I just American names, foreign names, any names. Just pronouncing things is hard for me sometimes. I learn by reading, right? That's how I learn new words. That's how I learn new terms. Um, and I grew up learning that, right, by reading mostly. Um, and so my pronunciations have always been wild. So forgive me. What is bedrotting? Well, Tuna's going to explain that when he gets in here, okay? So if you wait a few minutes, right, he will be in here and we will go there. How dare you mispronounce my fake name? I know, it's crazy. I made my name as easy to pronounce as possible. Wick. It's super easy. The spelling may throw people off a little bit because there's an H in there, but it is what it is. How's life been since I see you guys last? Yesterday we had, I think, a good talk with the Taliban guy, right? That's what I'm going to call him. I thought it was an interesting conversation at least. And we also went over the filibuster, what that is and things like that. So, I thought both were fun. I thought it was a great show yesterday, and I'm glad you all showed up for it. Today should be an interesting show as well. Tunachip has graciously agreed to come on and talk about all sorts of issues from gender disparities, bed rotting, YouTube self-help, and we're also going to talk a little bit about the TENET stuff, right? The Russian propaganda machine kind of thing. We're going to discuss a little bit about that. Some people have been trying to equate me being sponsored by Progressive Victory to what TENET has done. And I wanted to touch on that a little bit because I think it's funny. And I think it just kind of exposes a few flaws in thinking. So I will be touching on that a little bit when Tuna gets in here. It's a wild thing. It's the same old people though, right? It's like no one new. It's just the same people who've been mad ever since I disagreed with them on various topics. New haircut? I don't think so. This is the same haircut I've always had. I haven't cut it recently, if that's what you're asking. My beard's very disheveled today. I apologize for that. Hugh, hope you had a good day, Wick. Well, I did. I hope your day was good as well. Tunachip is here, though, so I'm going to pull him in, and we're going to talk to our boy Tuna. Hello? Hello, sir.
What's up, Big Pimp?
We're live, by the way, just FYI.
Oh, sorry, you kind of gated out. Say it again.
You're live here, by the way, so just keep that in
Hey,
mind.
what's going on, everybody?
we got, I don't know if that is an air conditioner in the background or what.
Air conditioner in the background.
But it sounds like you are, there's some kind of, yeah, it sounds like an air conditioner in the background or some fan or something.
I imagine there was a second. Is it happening right now while I'm
Yes.
talking or not?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Let me try something.
Okay.
My best guess is that it was picking up, which is crazy because it doesn't make sense that it should.
I can still hear it.
The fan from my computer.
Right?
Is it any better now?
No, I could still hear it. It sounds like this. It's this constant white noise almost. This low. It's not overwhelming, but it's just like this constant.
Does it only play when I'm talking?
No. It's playing right now.
Okay, that's crazy. Let me fix that because currently I don't have any of that happening. Okay, I've got a guess.
We're doing it live, gang. Some tech support as we go. Okay, what we're doing.
Oh man.
I am being DM'd that your gain is too high on your mic. I don't know if that's true, but I'm being told that that's probably the problem.
How about now? How's this sound?
I don't hear it anymore, but I can now hear kind of an echo of me. And
How about
uh,
this now?
let's see.
Literally, I'm just gonna put headphones in. Don't worry about that. I'll put headphones in. That'll get rid
Sure,
of the
sure.
echo. But I think that you were actually just receiving the wrong input source.
Maybe.
Anyway, so how we doing, buddy?
Doing good. I can't see you yet, also, by the way.
Oh, you can't see. Well, yeah, that's because I haven't done that yet. What's going on,
I
buddy?
love it. I love the new digs you got going here. We had some guy asking what bedrotting was. And so I think that well, there's just a lot of when I asked you to be on, okay, it was about a week ago. We hadn't had some of the revelations that we've had since I asked you to come on.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
nothing about the Tim Pool stuff had dropped yet.
Mhm.
Nothing about that whole sector of the internet just going away. Like Lauren Chen's, all her stuff's gone now from the internet, from YouTube.
Yeah, I
They've
saw YouTube
just
banned
removed her.
everybody associated with the distribution, right? Or is
I'm
it
not sure
only
if it's.
people that are
I'm not sure.
known?
I don't know everyone who got banned, but I know that they've removed Lauren Chen's stuff definitely. So they
How about
removed.
Southern?
I don't know. I haven't checked. Check for us, gang. Come on, community, get it on it. Is Lauren Southern's YouTube gone yet? Do we know? I don't think Tim Pool's is. We're finding
I'm
out
clicking
now.
her YouTube right now, and nope, her YouTube's still up.
Yeah, I think it's mostly just either Lauren Chen stuff or maybe Lauren Chen and her husband. Um,
I imagine that's because inside of the release, it says certain parties were informed, certain were not. It's been proven. It's also been proven, or at least it's been claimed
alleged, yes,
by, it's
alleged.
been
Let's keep
alleged,
this simple.
alleged.
Yeah.
Yes, very specific. It's been alleged that content creators outside of that couple were not aware of what was happening, where the money was going, what the approval process looked like, stuff like that.
A commenter, and I don't know if we want to start here, or if we want to like start with the bedrotting stuff first, but people are talking about this, so let's start here. I think. Okay, is that
Sure.
okay? Yeah, we'll talk about
Yeah, let's
this
start
stuff.
here and we can go into that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, what do you think of that? That they removed Lauren Chen's entire channel sans trial, right? So there wasn't a trial. Like these are just an indictment. Now I say just an indictment. Let's be clear. The convictions happen in like over 90% of the cases with the indictments. The evidence is strong, right? That they claim and allege they have. If the evidence they claim they have does exist, it's pretty damning. So let's keep that in mind. But it's not a conviction, right? An indictment is not a conviction. So how do we feel about YouTube taking an indictment and simply acting on that without any kind of conviction? What are our thoughts on this?
Well, my default thought is to first ask, like, before the personal question, actually, before I go to my thought, my first thing that I check is whether or not there's consistency in terms of how they employ their rules. This idea of, does the terms of service actually allow YouTube to do this? Does YouTube get to at will delete a channel? And a lot of people, their default thing to say is like, yes, obviously, because you can get mass flagged, it gets caught by a bot, and then
Sure.
nobody checks because you're a small fry. But when you're big, you have direct connection with YouTube. So then the question would be, do we have anything like this where somebody has been receiving funds from a government? They've been alleged as being a propaganda vehicle. And if that has happened before, what was the treatment by YouTube? Did they delete without a deposition or a confirmation? Or did they pull back? The first thing that comes to mind for me in terms of like severe offenses and not waiting is they did not take very much time to take Alex Jones off the platform. They didn't wait for him to be convicted and confirmed. YouTube just was like, I want clean hands. I'm going to scrub right now, and we can always let him back on if it's proven that he's innocent. But
Yeah,
like,
but that
have they responded like that to the left? I want to know more.
I just don't know, to be clear. Like, just to let my audience know, I am not sure. On first blush, I understand why YouTube wants that ability, right? And I understand that legally, they probably have that ability. Legally, it's their platform. They can do as they will in a lot of ways. But when it comes to whether I think this was the right move or not, I'm torn on this one, buddy. I think no. I think my initial first blush is no. You probably shouldn't have just taken it down. Putting a warning on it, based, right? Like letting you know how they have that misinfo warning nowadays where if you talk about COVID or if you talk about certain things, they'll put like this addendum on the video. So anyone who watches it sees this addendum that gives further information, right? So something like that being added to all the channel itself, like addendum, DOJ has issued an indictment for this company and these individuals, alleging that they are paid Russian operatives. I think that's great and good and should happen, but simply just removing it, I don't know about that, man. Convince me. Why am I wrong here?
So right now, the first thing that comes to mind is that YouTube's misinformation policies do cover specifically and in direct name anything interfering with democratic processes. And if it is seen by the court and confirmed, now obviously we're talking pre-confirmation, but if it is confirmed, then it's like 100%. It breaks that. The question then would be, first off, one, do you know if they have an addendum clause that they add to their channels? I know that other websites do that, but does YouTube currently have that with the COVID-19 stuff, for instance?
Yeah,
Is that
I've
what they do?
seen YouTube channels where, and I think even a couple of mine videos, if we have a spicy topic, sometimes they'll put this note on the video itself, and
On the
it'll be like
bottom,
at the
just like a
bottom.
little
It'll just be
ticker?
like a bar at the bottom,
Mhm.
giving like further information with links to various things.
I guess the important part here also is that Google, YouTube owned by Google, obviously, and maybe this is the most obvious thing, is that Google is a huge company. And if they get associated with
Yeah, I understand they want to cover their
propaganda in the
ass.
large, so like I think that they might be, I don't know what the legal is, but I can super understand wanting to take a act now, redact later type because think about it as a business. What's going to cost you more, a lawsuit in the case that they are wrongfully removing these channels, or the amount of revenue that would be lost if YouTube took no action whatsoever towards reducing the spread
Sure,
of
sure. I
disinformation?
get that from a pragmatic perspective, right? Like if you're the company and you're looking for liability purposes and trying to deal with your bottom line, I understand it. But for me, my calculus and whether I think they should or should not have done this does not take that into a large account at all. Because I don't personally, my view on or my care that I give for their bottom line is less than the care that I give for the norms and standard practices around free speech. And I think that this is a free speech issue in a lot of ways. Like I said, right? Like I think that Lauren Chen and her husband and TENET Media Company, if the allegations are true, they committed a crime. They broke the law, and they should be held accountable for that crime. But
And they broke the TOS, so they should be held in this
sure,
particular process
but
as
these
well.
are allegations at this point, and there's, excuse me,
I know that that's an if. I know that's an if.
yeah, these are allegations at this point. So I just, if I always try to put myself in people's shoes, right? So if a lot of people, well, I don't have to put myself into other people's shoes. People have accused me of being a paid propagandist, right? And a
Yeah.
lot of people online have tried to compare me taking money from Progressive Victory, which I'd still do, with Tim Pool or Lauren Chen taking money from Russia. I think that's ludicrous on its face, but yeah, there are people who would say these are the exact same thing. So if they're going to act in this way towards that, right, we should act in the same way towards your channel, Wick. And the the reason I think that this is a specious argument, a false argument, is that there were a lot of reasons that Tim Pool, Lauren Southern, Lauren Chen even, right? Well, Lauren Chen knew, right? She wasn't
Yeah.
unaware. At least that's the allegation. But like Tim Pool, Lauren Southern, there were a lot of reasons to suspect that there was some kind of fucky-wucky shit going on with who was paying them. The amount of money that they were being paid, $400,000 a month, right? For in cases, I get more views than what was this guy? Benny Robbins? I forget his name, right? He gets about 1,000 views for one of his things. And he got 400,000 a month. Like for each of his clips and his videos, he got about 1,000 views. That's about what I do usually, right? I get her anywhere from 500 to 1,500 views. And if you roll in Twitch to that, I usually break 1,000. And he's getting 400,000 a month. So I think that's one reason to be a little suspicious, the amount of money there. I think another reason to have some suspicion was simply the messaging that was happening, right? And you could see, well, look at Tim Pool and his statement that Ukraine is an enemy to the United States and that Ukraine needs to apologize to Russia and America needs to apologize to Russia, right? Those kinds of statements makes you go, right? Makes you go, But when you look at the Progressive Victory stuff, I would ask, like, what suspicions, what is causing people to suspect that Russia or China would be paying me? Because I say all the time on this channel, Ukraine should win the war. And in fact, they need to take back Crimea. And in fact, I think that the U.S. should be doing more to help them. And when we look at China, I say all the time on this channel, Taiwan is an independent country and needs to remain that way. And China needs to step the fuck back, right? These are things that neither Putin nor Xi Jinping would ever pay for. And again, like, if you had a suspicion that NATO was funding my channel, okay, that's fair because I'm a NATO shill, right? Like, but see, if NATO was paying me, I would tell you, oh yeah, man, I would be proud of that shit. NATO thought I was their strongest soldier, so they're giving me money. Hell yeah, baby, let's go! Right?
People
I would shout
wouldn't
that shit
accuse you of those, though, right? I mean, the main thing that they would accuse you, I think the most likely thing would be Israel, and they would say by way of Brianna. That would be the most likely, because that's like
Maybe.
the sort of like current narrative going on.
But PV, well, the counter to that is PV supported Jamal Bowman and other, right, like Hamas-leaning views, right? If anything, I'm an outlier in PV when it comes to my views on Israel, right? Most people who are being paid by PV and what they've actually put their money for is pro Palestine kind of stuff, right?
Do we have I just to check?
Sure.
Do we have the doc that was circling for a while that had like the number and the name? Obviously, Connor was named, Loner Box was named, you were named. These were like the things. Does anybody have that really quick?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Chat, anybody got that for us? So let's see. PV document payment content creators. Let's just see if we can find it really quick. Progressive Victory. If anybody's got it, I could probably just go to frickin' Landre's Twitter and it'd be posted really quick.
Sure.
But whole point is, we don't have to go the one by one.
Zephyr Hash for $5 says, Habibi, I give you 500K special price to spread the good word of Allah. Right? Like, fair enough. Thank you for the $5, by the way. Like, if you want to accuse me of being, like, funded by Lex Friedman, he's paid me over $1,000 at this point. Right? Like,
that's fair. That'd be a very easy one for people to say too.
Right? I mean, I've challenged him certain times, but I do like Lex Friedman, and you can make that accusation, but that's fair. But even that's a substantively different thing than being paid by a foreign adversary, such as Russia, or such as Iran, or such as Qatar,
that's the thing, though.
Such as China.
It would have to be by way of your financiers, the same way that someone would say TENET is not Russia, but it is by proxy through TENET that, and whether you're aware or not aware, if you're trying to like make the comparisons, that would be what people would go for. People would go for that. That would be the reason. It would be the only reasonable way to go about it, because I don't think anybody would be saying something along the lines of like, Wick is receiving direct PayPals from Netanyahu.
Sure, but what they would allude to is that, well, Progressive Victory is a dark money pack, and you don't know who could be paying you. It could be Netanyahu. It could be these people. We don't have any evidence, sure, but it could be. And for some people, that's very scary, I guess. But here's the deal. Like, I don't know. Like, I just got $5 from Zephyr Hash.
Sure.
I don't know where he got that money. I don't know what he did to get that money. I don't know if Russia gave him that money. I don't know if China gave him that money. I don't know if Israel gave him that money. I don't know. How am I supposed to check? There's no way to know. That's dark money. That's dark money by their definition.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking the amount question, because then that would be like what, $5 here, $5 there, and then you're saying 400,000. I think anybody reasonable, if they saw 400,000 drop in there, you know, nowadays, and you're a political streamer, as opposed to say like, you know, and there's like a TTS that's like, goodbye forever, this is my last message.
Yeah.
And then like whale emoji. Like then you would be suspicious. You would have reason to be suspect. But I don't know. It's a trickier thing.
Do you think that Tim Pool and Lauren Southern? So here's the deal. Tim Pool and Lauren Southern, how much? What's it called? Accountability do they have for this? Because even the indictment alleges that they were deceived, right? They were tricked. But how much actual like accountability should these people have? $2 more from Zephyr Hash. Allah gave me money. Well, thank you for the $2, Zephyr Hash. Well, thank Allah, I guess. But yeah.
My butt. Listen, $17 more. 17, because that's the breakthrough for him. 27. You can get this man in a kafaya. That's all it takes.
I don't even have one of those, by the way. So don't make promises, because I don't even have one. I mean,
he will order one from Amazon, and it'll be made in a factory in Israel. That's playing both. That's centrism right there. I think my best read on it would be, my best read on like the responsibility question is like, you have a responsibility to say things that you think are true. So if the only reason that you're and this is something that's hard to fucking quantify, because like I don't know if Lauren Southern truly is as batshit as she seems, and whether she does believe that like XYZ is the fall of Western civilization, or if the money is, you know, making her believe and spread those words. Because like, what was the most recent video from Southern on Twitter?
Oh, I have no idea.
There's one that just got posted very recently. Here, really quick. Twitter, Lauren Southern. She posted a video in here, and to me it looked like a loon spilling. I have to remember what exactly she was saying, but she was essentially talking about I imagine it had to be something along the lines of the things that she's always saying. This thing that the left likes or progressives like is the fall of Western civilization. Men are soy. The only people that are allowed to have a job are blacks. You know, so whatever fucking crazy shit she'd be spreading. No offense, that's what I've universally seen out of her is just like
Sure.
that same Twitter shock jock panic thing.
To be
Okay,
clear, I
why
did
mass
email
my
her. I did email Lauren Southern, and I invited her on my show on Tuesday. We're gonna have Dylan Burns, Loner Box, non-smoker. I want her on there too. She hasn't responded to me yet, but I'd love to host her and just pick her brain a little bit. But Karen,
it'd be interesting to see. The most recent thing was why mass migration is a disaster for dummies, and this was her previous video that she was watching, where she is trying to say that taking in, and this seems very connected when you recognize that where are a lot of migrants coming from? Some of them are coming from global conflicts, such as Ukraine. So it's like one of these questions is should we be accomplice to Ukraine? That's the undertone. You can see Russia in the things she's saying. The question is, can she see it, or should she be able to see it? Should she be able to see it from the number of digits that are coming into her PayPal? I don't fucking know. But
yeah,
she knows on some level, I would hope, unless she's completely emptied on it. She knows whether or not she believes
I
the
don't
things
know
that
how
she's
much
saying.
Lauren Southern was getting, right? But we know Tim Pool was alleged to be getting 400,000 a month, 100,000 per video, and one video a week. That
Well, okay.
I mean that
Mm,
they're crowd. There's a matter of scale here, right? If someone offered me $100 to make a video about something, I wouldn't question it that much. I would ask a couple questions, right? That's a lot of money. But if
how
someone
much
offered
money?
me $100, just $100,
$100? Oh yeah,
a
sure, sure.
Benjamin, I'd be like, oh, well, fair enough. I mean, like I make more usually just doing my own shit. Like most streams, I make anywhere between 50 to $200 per stream just from donos, right? That come in either donos on super chats, Twitch subs, or direct donos, right? Like it varies and it can like there's some streams I don't make anything, but then like there'll be streams I make almost $1,000, right? So it wildly varies. But in general, on average, I make a little over 100, right? So I wouldn't question that too much. But if someone's coming and offering me 100,000 to make a video, I have a lot more questions. Does that make sense? Like the scale
Yeah.
does matter, right? Like again, I can see if someone offered Lauren Southern or Tim Pool, hey, here's a little money, here's the market price for it. We want you to talk about this topic. I can see them just kind of brushing that off. But when you have that much money being offered to you, like that much money, it does make me wonder, like, okay, right? Did you not think to look into this a little more? 400,000
Looking
a
right
month
now,
is a
looking right
lot.
now, the average influencer marketing cost for YouTube is about $20 per thousand subscribers. So if we take the number of subscribers she has, which is
Is
712,000,
this an episode or a is this a month? Like what's the scale? What's the interval? Are we
I'm
talking
looking right now so it says per post. So I would
okay, so
say
per
one
video.
video.
Per video, sure.
So one video. So if we take 20 per thousand and we have 712,000, then we're going to say 20 times 712. So 20 times 712, we're looking at 14,240. That would be an average. Now, I think that she would probably be getting a little bit more because politics has more money. So let's round it to maybe, let's say a flat 20, a flat 20K for a video. If you're getting significantly more of that, like an order of magnitude more than that, you should probably be suspicious. But if you're making something in your ballpark, I could imagine a person
Sure.
seeing 25K and
being
not
like,
saying
okay.
anything.
Like I
Okay.
don't know the averages here. It's not something I've looked into. $20 from No Step on Snake to say this is Russian. Take your rubles, Wick TV. Well, thank you for the $20, dear sir. Um, I also think honestly, I would kind of respect them more if they did know. It actually makes it kind of worse in my mind. And let me
Well, it makes them
explain.
look like ignoramuses
Look,
if they didn't know and the number was so high that they should have been suspect. It's like
not
it says something about their character that they're willing to look the other way. They're intentionally being non-suspect or something like that. They're
not
playing
just
the
that.
fool.
It's not so much that, in fact. It's the fact that Putin looked at what they were saying, okay? Thought, "Oh wow, what they are saying really helps me weaken America and promote my own stuff. Let's give them more money to do the thing that they're already doing." That, in my mind, that is in some ways worse because I could understand. Like, I don't agree with it. I think it's immoral, right? But I could understand if someone came up and offered you almost $500,000 a month to say some retarded shit that you didn't believe, right? Say, here's 500,000 a month. Here, say this retarded shit, and I'll keep giving you this money. And you being like, that's 500 fucking thousand a month. Okay. I can understand it. I think it's immoral, right? But I can grasp. I can wrap my head around it. But these motherfuckers thought they were doing it for nothing, right? They thought that they were just doing Putin's will for fucking free. Like Hassan is out there looking like, wow, you guys were getting paid, right? Like that's almost worse to me than like. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, I see what you mean because although for me, I think of moral concession as being pretty bad, pretty heavy. There is something like, how embarrassed are you when you're in the room full of people who are getting paid to pretend to be retarded and then you figure out, like if you were on the set of a movie and half of the actors are actually retarded and the other half are being paid to be retarded, you'd be pretty mad, one, if you were the actually retarded one, but then it'd be like, it feel heavier, right? It feel heavier when you learn, as opposed to like you go home and you're like, it does say something about how cheap you are and how much of a useful idiot you are. Um, I do think that generally the things that are being paid for, which I would say, and this is maybe out of pocket, but I would assume, I think saying that gay rights and trans rights shit is part of like a woke agenda is definitely a pro Russia talking point, mainly because part of Russia's whole claim against the United States and the UN and a lot of Europe in general is this idea that Western culture has been invaded by a foreign set of ideas, and if you are closer to the opinion about gay people and trans people that Russia has, you'd be more sympathetic to that argument, perhaps. I can see, obviously, libertarian arguments out of Tim Pool for don't waste my money on Ukraine, stop sending my money to Ukraine. That makes sense. It also makes sense for them to fund somebody who is like making it so that politics is about culture war and not about global conflict, because then it's very, very much so like whatever happens in Russia, we don't fucking know. But like, I don't understand why in that discussion someone would be centering some of the weirder conversations that happen on Tim Pool. Like some of the weirder things that happen. Like what's the husband's name? Can we pull up his
I don't
YouTube
know
real
off the
quick?
top of my head,
Or
buddy.
well, we can't pull up his YouTube because it's gone.
Yeah, yeah.
But if we know what topics the people that were very, very aware, because I want to know what's the difference in extremity between the people that were aware of it and the people that weren't. If the extremity of the people that were aware is significantly higher, that does say something towards an argument of like the ignorance of the
I don't
people
know if
who
that
supposedly weren't aware.
I don't know if that tracks, and let me explain why. Because
Sure.
I think, again, from the indictment, it seems to be that Lauren Chen's job and her husband's job in this whole conspiracy was to get other people on board and trick them basically into being useful idiots and promote them as useful idiots, but to actively keep them from knowing that it was Russia the whole time, right? Like that was their job. So I can see them being less extreme on purpose, right? To being like they are much more run of the mill just because it helps them go stealth better. Does that make
Sure.
sense? Like
I mean,
I think that would be
it's
my move if I was
it's
getting a lot of money to be a conspiracist Decepticon, basically. Yeah, I'd go stealth if I could.
it's info laundering. That's
Sure.
the basic concept. The same thing that you do with money laundering. But let's say by comparison, if we're because I want to get back to this question of responsibility. Let's say that you're the dealership. Somebody comes in and smacks 400K on the table and says, "Give me that fucking Benz right now." Ritz it out, do everything that you can. That does flag. You do actually tend, and we tend to think that you have a responsibility when something that is out of the norm, out of pocket, especially that out of pocket, that like orders of magnitude, that you have a responsibility to at least check, if not report, the transaction as going down. When a bank has that much money flagged through, it is absolutely put on hold until it is confirmed because I mean, obviously the bank has more laws than say a content creator has. There's no law that says a content creator when they're offered something like 6K or sorry, 6-digit sum
Should
that
there
they
be?
need to.
Should there be?
Should there be?
Yeah.
For a news organization, there probably should be. The question is where the line is between a news organization and a content creator, and that's the hard thing there. We're talking about the transition from traditional media towards alternative media. We're talking about the superseding of so many laws that already exist. The FCC doesn't exist on YouTube. You don't have to worry about balancing and saying certain things. In the news, we're only allowed to run political ads once. And if something goes wrong, if there's a technical failure, you're not even allowed to re-air it because of that
Really?
failure.
Okay.
Yeah, part of the FCC law around it is holds
I
it to
didn't know.
that. So there are very rigid laws around political ad spots, and sometimes it burns people. But those laws exist, and it's you have to follow them. You have to follow them, or massive fines. How would you feel? Because you're relatively small compared to the like a Lauren Southern, who's like I think much more close to the edge. Tim Pool, who's definitely close to the edge if you follow the numbers. How would you feel if you got a letter in the mail and let's say a YouTube link was dropped? It was a letter from the government saying you have to pay this fine or show up in court because during this video, you didn't say at the start of it, I was paid by Progressive Victory. I
That'd
don't
be
think you'd have an
silly.
issue, right?
I mean, I'd go and I'd show up obviously, but I think it'd be silly. I'm like, what the fuck is this, right? Um,
How many viewers? How many viewers before you would feel like the law is justified? Is it a viewer thing
I
or is
don't
it
think that law would. I think that there would be no point where that's the only thing, because remember the crime here isn't that they didn't like say who they were paid by. The
sure?
crime was that the people were actively deceiving those that they were paying and keeping them from knowing that they were paid. So it's like it would be as if. So I guess maybe a better question to me,
Well,
right?
no, you're talking about between Tenet and the creator. That's the
Yes.
creator's case against Tenet. I'm saying between the creator
Uh huh.
and the viewer. Because
Sure.
what they're really asking, what I think where they would step in,
Mm.
especially like YouTube, but let's say the government even, part of what they would say is that if we're following this analogy, because we would be creating a new law, we would say because you got this certain threshold of money from a political organization,
And you didn't
you
disclose it.
are
You are obligated to disclose it to your viewers at the start of your
yeah.
show, right? If I knew about the law and I broke the law on purpose, then yeah, it'd be a problem.
Well, if you
I,
did
I
know
don't know
about it,
if I would be okay with that law, right? It would
because
depend. Like, I think there is a threshold, right, where I think, yeah, okay. And what are you getting the money for? Like, if I was given a money, I have been given money. I've been given money by PACs before to do a certain show. And every time I put it in my description, I say it at the start. You were on one of those shows with
yeah,
me, right? And we did that. So yeah, I think that's fine. I think that's fine to have a law saying that you should do that. I think it's right to do that. But there comes a question, right? There is a question if a an individual, say Zephyr Hash, because he paid me money today, right? Zephyr
Zephyr
Hash
hat.
says, you know what? I love drama content. I want to see some of that drama schlop. And he tells me every time you do drama content, I will promise you I'm going to donate $100 in super chats, right? I don't think I need to disclose that. I don't think there should be a law requiring me to
Sure.
disclose that. That would be weird. Does
What
that
if
make sense?
instead Zephyr Hash was Zephyr Hash, and he was paying
Sure.
you
With the
the
mustache.
same amount of money, but he pays you 100 gift subs, $500,
Sure, sure.
250, 270. Um, every time you say gay marriage is the reason, gay marriage and the death of Christianity as an organization, as an institution in the United States, is the reason that the West is falling.
Yeah, then I think that I should be required to disclose that. Absolutely.
What's the line?
I think that in one case, I am giving a general, like, this is what I like. If you keep doing what I like, I will give you money. But that's just a standard viewer relationship, only it's elucidated. It's spoken out loud. Like, let's be real, there is an unspoken agreement between the viewer and the content creator that the viewer, if they like your stuff, they'll pay you for it, right? That's
Sure.
understood. And if they don't like what you're saying, they probably will leave. They probably won't watch anymore. They are less likely to donate. That's just understood, right?
It's
So
part of the platform, yeah.
I don't think you need to elucidate that. But if they're asking you to say a specific thing, right? If they are asking you to do a specific thing, I think there comes a point when, okay, yeah, you should probably tell people. So specificity would be the issue here. Like
So you don't think
if I was just told, like, I want to hear more foreign policy takes, Wick, and if you do foreign policy takes, I'm more likely to donate to you. I don't think I should tell you, right? I don't
if
think I need to.
so you would say that you need to disclose if for instance when they said drama, he said I want like I want you like you think that drama's too broad.
Yes, but if
So
he's like, I
specific
want you to cover
the
Tuna Chip,
specific rhetoric.
I want you to cover Tuna Chip. I want you to have Tuna Chip on your show. I will pay you $50 to have Tuna Chip on your show to talk about all the Tuna Chip drama between Tuna and Fairy Queen and all the allegations, right? Then yes, I think I should tell people. Does that make sense?
Sure. I it doesn't make I understand what the words mean. I personally don't think that makes sense because I think that the line is itself vague. This idea of what is vague and what is specific enough that it needs an arbiter, and I think that arbiter would come down to something very
What would be
arbitrary.
your answer to the question? Do you think if one of your viewers said, "I love this show that you do. You should do it more, and if you do it more, I'll give you some money." They don't even specify an amount. They're like, I will give you some subs if you keep doing this show every week. I will make sure that I give you subs." Do you think you're required to disclose that to your audience?
I think I think that the reason, not what I am, but what would be reasonable, is if I were being paid by a if I was being paid by a company, if I was being paid by a pack, if I was being paid by anything that is not an individual, and if that money is coming from a bank account or a fund that is provisioned in joint and is not individual, and more importantly, uh, the way that that money is taxed and the way that the money is being transferred is like I think that you're not supposed to receive money that you don't know for a fact is being transferred as a gift or an official person to person transaction without disclosing. And I think there's like what you would call reasonable cause to believe that something is a pack or something is a company, which is this if it's outside of the norm of a friendly donation. Something like 100 gift subs, I think that that's out of the norm. That's over $100. I think that that usually is the type if that's a continual
But you think
transaction.
it would be okay if someone said, if they didn't say it directly, but they were like, you know what? If you noticed, even every time you do a show on this subject, uh, uh,
Lex Friedman comes in my chat and gives me
Lex Friedman
money.
comes in and gives you $100 each time, and
If Lex Fried,
like you see this over and over again. You do a show on this topic, you see $100 to your super chat every single time.
here's my take. What would happen eventually if Lex Friedman's smart is much like a rat running inside of a race that has been taught to stream the topic, he would stop paying. If he stopped paying and then you stop doing the thing and then he start paying and then what you're doing is that's just audience capture. I think that that's within reason.
Okay.
But if Lex Friedman you stream and you do it and you do it and do it and then he stops paying and then you stop and then he would probably send you a message after you do a sort of let's say you were to say 3 months no Israel, 3 months no freedom of speech talk, and then he sends you an email. From that point forward, or he even sends you a Discord being like, why do you never talk about Israel anymore? Why have you stopped talking about free
Then
speech?
you think you should disclose it after that?
At that point, I think that you have reasonable cause to believe that this is an unspoken contract, something like that. That would be where I would go.
So Took says
before
this
that-
in chat, and I want to address this real quick. Says these donations are so open, it's not very analogous. Everyone sees them. Maybe I'm outing content creators, but you guys know that we have links to donos, like Ko-Fi's, Patreons. You'll never see those. Like, you won't know. It won't come up on your screen.
Sure. I mean, and also to be clear, when somebody subscribes,
Yeah.
or if you're multi-streaming, we choose to put the alerts on our OBS. It'll happen in the chat automatically, but I think even Twitch lets you make it so that
Like, my Twitch viewers don't know my super chats unless I say them.
exactly, yeah.
And
Or
my
unless you
YouTube
encode
viewers
them on
won't
the
know
stream.
the gift subs I get on Twitch unless I say it.
And that would come down to the letter of the law, whatever law gets made, what exactly the standards of disclosure are. And I imagine that they would be set pretty high where you need to, during the stream, as soon as you are paid by something that you have cause to believe is an unspoken contract, you would have to do it by perhaps the end of the stream or something like that. I wouldn't be shocked if this is the complexity of trying to regulate media that is not going through the mainstream apparatus. It's just there are hundreds of thousands of streams happening right now that are probably talking, if not on purpose, at least on accident, about any number of wars, any number of government interference
Well, obviously, it's a topic
opportunities.
that people are curious about, right? Like, it's a topic people have opinions on. So, yes, it's going to be talked about.
Yeah, someone sends you like a chat. You're in like I cannot imagine a person paying or Russia paying for this. But if Russia decided to pay every Twitch streamer $50 so that they would ban the expression Slava Ukraine in their chat, would that, because it's a lower amount or
Sure,
it's like
yes.
somebody pays.
Again, like my line here is if there is someone or or an entity, even an individual, who says, "Do this for money for me," right? This specifically, then I think you should tell people. You should be required to tell
I think
people.
that specificity is within reason. It just
Like, and
seems.
that would be
I think
specific. If someone from Russia said, "I'm going to give you $50 if you put this on your ban list,"
I think
I
that
need to tell people that, right?
I think that you're making a little too. I think you're making concessions to practicality that might have worse outcomes than just going straight to the point, which is that there are certain topics that could be contained in a law that if a person were were being paid to do or not do within those topics, specifically something that is understood as an international politics topic, I think that'd be a lot easier to regulate and would hit fewer people. Because I could right now say, Wick, it's disgusting when you eat on stream. You don't do it, but it's disgusting. I
I
hate
do
hearing your
sometimes.
sloppy, disgusting mouth. Here's $5 for every stream that you mute your mic every time that you take a bite of food. Should you have to disclose that? That seems embarrassing. And
That does seem
now
weird.
it's like it gets to a point where I suddenly am reporting Wick TV for having sloppy mouth syndrome and being paid on the sly. It just seems like what are we doing? Why are we making regulations around things that are stupid when there's like a more to the point cost, which is just like it is very clear when something, in my opinion, is very clear when something is politics. It is whether or not a law should exist, whether or not certain people should have the same protections and rights as other people. It's very cut and dry, so you could just make it around that. And even then, YouTube gets to make their own policies about that. I think that if we were to ask YouTube to make a policy, the same way that you can't say fuck in the first 30 seconds without getting absolutely rammed on your revenue, you probably shouldn't be able to just make a video where, you spend 30 minutes saying these are all of the things ruining American culture without having it like checked into or without having some reasonable responsibility on where your money's coming from. Like, what topic you're working with, what types of people would pay you
So you
for
can
that
see
topic.
how maybe in here, I'm going to steel man this from the other side.
Okay, try it.
You see how insidious it would be to have any kind of institution, especially a government institution, regulating if you talk about these topics, we are going to put extra care into how we treat you. We're going to treat you in a different way than if you were just talking about other topics. You can see how that might make it suspect. Like, the governments would have incentives, just like Russia has an incentive for a certain line to be pushed. The American government has incentives as well for their lines to be pushed, right? So you can kind of see how there would be questions about, wait, why are you looking at me or investigating me for saying this, but you had Bob on his stream talk about this other thing, and you didn't look at him at all. And they're both kind of politically related, right?
It's a now you're getting down to the meat of the like the meta question, which is what should a nation be allowed to do, and what laws should a nation be allowed to execute on the internet or media,
Because
um,
isn't Lauren Chen Canadian? I think she's Canadian. I'm pretty sure.
yeah,
She might
but
have dual citizenship though.
so would you say, well, the thing is YouTube is not America. So I think that you're going in a
Okay,
different
but it's
direction.
the Department of Justice, America, which has issued the indictment here.
Yes,
Yes.
but we are okay. First off, Lauren Chen. Where does what citizenship does she have? Let's find out. Lauren Chen citizenship. Before we go in here, because at a certain point, you'd be saying somebody is
Look, I think
being.
anyone at this point who is named Lauren and who is Canadian is suspect. We have Lauren Chen, Lauren Southern. What other Canadians are going to come out to be part of this? I don't know. You don't know, right? What other Laurens are going to come out? Laura Ingram? Are we going to see that? Is that going to be a name on this list? I don't know.
Well,
Could
first
be.
thought is if she has a company in America, then that's where the indictment would be going through,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So that'd be the reason for the connection there. Um, so then, because you're part of the economy, you're part of the media there, you own a company in America. Um,
Trusting women was the first mistake. True, but carry on.
well,
Yet notice how many women are being involved in this. At least 3 of the named suspects that we know. Lauren Chen, the Russian lady, and Lauren Southern's been mentioned. Man, those women up to no good. I don't know if we could trust them. This will tie into our next topic, by the way, gang. So don't worry.
yeah, we'll get into a little bit of a woman thing. We'll be talking. Uh,
$2 from Fate, suspect number 1. Yeah. Mary says, didn't realize Tim Pool was a woman. Well, you should have with the beanie. But go on.
Tim Pool doesn't know what a woman is, which is the most ironic part of this. He's constantly asking people for help with the world's most puzzling question.
Honestly,
Apparently,
which is why I can totally believe he didn't know he was being used as a Russia shill. Honestly, like with Tim Pool,
wait,
Tucker Carlson, I get it, right? Like we have a lot of suspicions. How did you not know? But Tim Pool, I believe him when he says he didn't know. I
what is
Maybe
a
it's weird. I
ruble?
just believe him when he says he was so ignorant that he couldn't pick up on the fact that he was a Russian shill. I believe the guy. I don't know what to tell you. It doesn't
The
speak
man
well
was
of him, but I believe him. All right.
the man was born yesterday. He doesn't know what a woman is. Of course, he doesn't know what a ruble is. He doesn't notice when 10 billion of them get dropped into his bank account because the ruble has dropped so much from them being absolutely shit wrecked by war. The how could he possibly know? He just saw a big number. He probably thought, oh, Indians. Okay, I guess I'm loved by a bunch of Indians. They did a group donation. All of the Indians. Every call center in America was like, we love Tim Pool. We must give him all of our money. That's because of those sacred cows in the backwoods. I don't know. I don't know what the reasonable cause would be, but I do think that a government gets to make a decision about what they allow ISPs and websites that are hosted on those ISPs to do within reason, especially when we're talking about attacking the foundation upon which allows that broadcast to even happen at all. Which is if you are looking to sweep the leg on the United States and specifically the democratic process in the United States, why wouldn't a country and why shouldn't a country do everything within reason to protect itself from the it's at that point you're just saying like, listen, if the United States like stops being a democracy, the only thing that lets Google be a company, the only thing that allows free expression and free speech at all is gone. So you're defending free speech by restricting free speech. That would be the strongest argument for making that law. And I think as long as it's within reason, you're not even being overly authoritarian. I think that you're protecting what allows you to have that free speech to begin with.
I think it's I think we subtly disagree here. I think that it does make me concerned and suspicious when a government such as like Brazil recently. Thank you for that. Brazil just banned Twitter outright, right? Brazil isn't exactly known for it being the best at free speech, right? They aren't exactly known for being a free, fair, open country, right? I think that allowing even your enemies to speak is a sign of strength. And while yes, there needs to be something done, I don't think we just do nothing about Russian influence and these things. I think that we have to be careful that any mechanism we construct to combat that does not impede actual legitimate criticism of the
There's a
government.
line.
Yeah.
There's a line. I don't think that you need to respect duplicity. I don't think that you need to respect a lie, no matter how much you believe in free speech, because free speech is fundamentally resting on a bedrock of public trust. And lies, about some of the like the most known to be regulated topics and the most imperative topics, lies about that do corrupt public trust. They
But
do
so
make it like
does
we are talking about the same thing that they'll rant all the time about. A post-truth society is being produced by them through the money and through the rhetoric.
certainly, but also what erodes public trust in these things, and when they see government institutions silence voices who criticize them, and when it isn't clear that it's because of duplicity, when it isn't clear it's because of deception, but rather perception is that, oh, they were criticizing the government shut them down. That works also to decrease public trust. So it is it is tough. Right?
I mean, I just, number one, I think that you can't mistake
Like,
fucking.
does it make you trust YouTube? Let's not even talk about government. Does it
Yeah.
make you trust YouTube more or less that they kicked Lauren Chen off after this indictment?
Um, you're asking a bad person to ask, because I just don't trust anything that
Okay,
I'm
so
seeing
I'll tell you for me.
out of
I'll tell you
media.
for me. I'll tell you for me. I understand why they did it. I get it, but it does make me wonder and worry if I am accused of something and have an indictment made out against me, am I just going to lose my source of revenue just off of an accusation? €5 from Mary Mead Park saying buying speech is not free speech. That's what Russia did here. Even if Tim Pool felt he was free speeching, he wasn't. It was all bought. Did you just buy my speech there, Mary? Am I a bought actor by Mary Mead? Do you own me now? And to what
This,
extent?
joke aside, this is the difference between and this is indicative of the difference between a regular payment and a contract and a one-off, which is that I think it's really easy to justify a one-off. It's really easy to justify a one-off because what's the motivation for you to actually hold your end of the deal? Faith in that the other person, faith, not a contract, nothing binding, faith that they will pay for you to do it the next time. When you have a regular, I think that the regularity of payment is cause for you to have some responsibility to confirm where exactly that information is coming from, whether or not that information, and if there was, and I think that this might be the easiest way to say it, is what if there was a law that says if you are part of a contract that is not explicitly from a PAC, you just know that you're being paid by a media organization, but you're being paid on a contract for political messaging, it needs to be reported to the United States government.
Is talking about bedrotting, which we're going to do in a minute here, is that
Yes.
political?
It can become, like anything but I don't think it's inherently.
That's the problem. Like,
I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying that I don't think that this is the type of thing where you walk into the swamp and you don't notice that the swamp's there until your knees are deep. I think you notice it when it touches the toes. It's pretty cut and dry when something is political, which is if you were talking about the rights of people, you were talking about laws that exist, you were talking about policies. Before you get there, it isn't politics. Like if I were to say,
What about
Gay
non-governmental
people are
policies?
embarrassing. If someone were to say like gay people are embarrassing and I just don't like the I don't like the calling pop stars mother thing, that wouldn't be political. But if I was to say gay people really shouldn't be able to just like call random strangers mother and be super loud in public, that should is a heavy implication that should be against the law. You've bordered into politics and you've opened the door very, to me, obviously.
Okay.
Maybe for some people it wouldn't be
I
obvious.
understand that in many cases, yes, it's obviously right. If like I think when we talked about the Supreme Court on my show with Destiny on Tuesday, that was obviously a political conversation. I think that no one could say that wasn't a political conversation. Yes, definitely, honestly, yes. But there are a lot of cases and a lot of conversations that I have that I don't know if they're political or not. Right? I haven't yet decided.
Drop an example. Drop an
Sure.
example.
I have all the time the man versus bear. Which do you pick in the woods? Right? And a lot of women were talking about why they would pick these things and why they would pick a bear over a man. There were political elements to that, but was it a political discussion? I don't think so.
It's not inherently political. The thing that is political is when people started saying this is why women shouldn't be allowed to vote. This is what happens when you trust women to be equal citizens. This is what happens when you let women be out in public on their own. That's political. But to say,
would it be political? Hold on. Would it be political if women were saying things like, well, this is why we choose the bear because men are always getting mad and telling women what to do and they shouldn't do that? Would that be political?
That's not political.
Okay. I
think
it kind of is if you're using that definition, right? I think it kind of is. You're telling men what they should and shouldn't be talking about when it comes to women.
What they should and shouldn't be talking about, or whether or not it should be legal.
Or how they should be talking when it comes to women.
So women, and this might be like a skirting of the line, women it's the most annoying, stupid, brain dead thing that women do in conversation. They will, instead of invoking the idea that something should be illegal, they will say that's not attractive. They'll try and, use the law of pussy.
The law of pussy.
Yeah, they're basically saying,
What is the law of pussy? Hold on, define this. I want to hear the law of pussy. Tell me about first of all, $5 Canadian, unfortunately, from Rabid Wombat. Imagine how awesome it would have been if Trump had 4 years to decide what was legally protected true speech and unprotected lies. Huge! Thank you for the 5 Canadians.
So the law of pussy is when women claim that women are like a sort of like are able to operate with this consensus, and they say something like, 2025, we are not fucking conservatives anymore. Like they'll make posts like that, and the whole idea is basically
pussy is like a hive mind, right?
Not just that the pussy is a hive mind, but that pussy is a form of economy, and that they are voting with their meat wallet.
Lysistrata. They're going Lysistrata on our asses. Okay, right. You remember the story of Lysistrata? It's where they tried to stop a war. Although it's a Greek play, right? I think it was Greek. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Greek. But it's Lysistrata. So the whole thing is their men are always fighting. So the women of both of the fighting city-states got together and said, we are going to not give it up. We are going to no sex with our soldiers until they stop this war. And it's a comedy, basically. It's an ancient Greek play about, just that. Women deciding not to give up the pussy until the men do what they want.
Yeah, and it's embarrassing, in my opinion, to like try and, because I'm sorry, how do I put this? Not that it ought be this way, but if you truly break, if it truly was that women were one body and they can all work as a collective, and men are one body and they could all work as a collective, and you said to all men, we're going on pussy strike, let me say it this way, there would be people would cross the picket line. Not just women being like, oh, I give up, I just want dick, but like there would be rapes. One of the main reason that culture works is because women and men are like working together. But like if there was a culture that genuinely tried, men are just stronger. And if men have no like there are evil men, they will rape. It happens every war. Like don't live in a fantasy world. It's just like a silly idea that you can actually go on a sort of like collective strike from men.
But you
It's like
understand how odd, I there's no other word for it, odd it is to equate crossing a picket line with rape. To equate those things.
well, I was saying crossing the picket line for the women who were just like, I'm just gonna fuck. That's what I'm saying that for. But I'm saying not only would there be people crossing the picket line, there would be people just like literally saying, civilization's over, laws are over. I no longer care about morality. I'm just gonna go back to what we used to do back when we were barbarians and heathens.
So
Like,
women telling men no in any kind of mass fashion, you think is going to just lead to more rapes?
no, there would. Well, if it was every, I'm saying if it was every single woman against
Well,
every
not every
single
single
man,
woman. Let's say 90%. Would there still be like more rapes?
90%,
90%.
90% is enough for villages, small communities, maybe not cities. It would depend, but like it is enough for very large amounts of the United States to just stop having the bedrock of trust between all people that allows civilization and law to happen. Because like, why do people punish moral wrongdoing? It's because they consider the people that are victims to be part of the body politic. Women would be essentially saying, we are no longer in the same nation as you. Well, then it's war at that point. And nobody wants to be in war if they're weak.
I'm not even sure what you're saying anymore. So let's
I'm
get
saying
back
that
to
the
the
idea,
point.
okay,
All right.
oh, okay, take this as an example. Easier example, perhaps. What if every child said, we're going on strike. We're no longer doing our bedtime. I'm sorry, asses are getting spanked. Kids are getting locked in cages. It's going to be like the Mexican border.
Locked in cages. The chloroform nap time stuff, right? Maybe.
Every child in America would be looking like Smeth, and that's interesting, to say the least.
I like. I need to have Smith on again at some point. I like Smith actually. He's an interesting.
I'm sure.
individual.
I'm sure he'd join you if you sent him a little message.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about rot while we're talking about people in cages and the
Yeah,
breakdown
like,
of civilization?
Because I told people this kind of relates. And speaking of women and why you shouldn't trust them, tell us. A few people have asked, and I think we've made them wait long enough. Bed rotting. You wanted to talk about bed rotting. What the fuck is bed rotting?
Sure. So bed rotting, if you haven't seen it on endless mental health fucking pastel squares or people saying it or people posting it inside of like 4chan memes where they're like, I just want to lay down and rot. Bed rotting is part of like this general social use of the word rot, which means giving up on doing things, just laying back and letting your body rot, atrophy. It's about laying in bed all day, not trying to go see the sun, go out on your day off, instead just laying in bed, not moving at all, doing nothing active, nothing creative. It's essentially a dark phrasing and a negative perspective said ironically about the idea of taking like a full rest. Don't do anything, don't try to do anything, don't try to learn anything, don't try and create anything. On your day off, lay in bed all day and just scroll the apps, watch a Netflix show, don't think too hard, watch some absolute slop. We're talking Pretty Little Liars, we're talking
Wick TV, ladies and gentlemen. Tune in,
we are talking
right? Wick TV, right? All that. But go on.
But yeah, so the entire idea of bed rotting is this idea that you can take a day or multiple days, hopefully just a day. A lot of the people that are advocating it as being like a positive thing, of total deprivation of effort, of trying. It's the opposite of grind set. Instead of being on your grind set, you're on your bed set, literally. Um, and, we used to have concepts like this before, couch potato
Yeah.
or,
This isn't
like
new, is it?
veg out.
Yeah.
But the
Turn your
reason that
brain
bed
off. You take a
rotting,
day and turn your brain off, right? That's how
yeah,
I've been referred to it, or I've heard it referred to as, is going some, like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to take any calls. I don't want to entertain anyone. I just want to turn my brain off for the day, watch some dumb shit, right? And do absolutely nothing.
go
And
goblin mode. We even recently had goblin mode as this
is it?
idea
Wait, I
as
thought
well.
Goblin Mode was something else. I thought Goblin Mode was when you just go crazy.
No, goblin
And
mode is more like just filth core, don't give a fuck about anything. It's a little bit more intuitive. You could say that bed rotting can be counterintuitive because maybe you're like, I'm restless, I want to get out of this bed. But then the logic of the thing is, no, what you need to do is learn to chill out. So we're gonna force ourselves into it's like it's gooning, but it's gooning on your back. It's like absolute depravity, binge rest.
do we need Fairy Queen in here to add the Snail Girl and how Snail Girls fit into
It's
this?
it's it's in the long document for sure. I knew that she would discuss it if we said before, but yeah, that now this is where we can get into theories on why exactly this is coming up. One, burnout. Burnout is this like current rhetorical thing. I personally don't relate to the idea of burnout because it usually gets said as if it needs a word when I'm just like, yeah, being exhausted is a thing. Why do we need a special word for it? But I think that burnout and bed rotting and a lot of these fucking hot terms, these, flag terms, are because people need to make new articles on psychology today. They need to have, it's pop psychology. We need to like have a new branding for the same dialogue between hustle culture or industriousness and then snail girl, or as people used to call it, vegging out, being lazy for a day. Or honestly, just like, I'm just like not really about that. Like it just, you used to not even need language for this shit. There was just like normal people.
Why are so two questions I have, right? Well,
Sure.
one's more of a comment and one's a question.
Yes.
I will make the comment first, and then we will ask the question. So the comment is, when you initially brought up the idea of bed rotting, you didn't explain it to me. I assumed I knew what it was, but my assumption was way off. What
What'd you think
I
it was?
thought bed rotting was a reference that some women will make derogatorily to men who all they got is they got a bed, a mattress, they got a TV, they got a chair. That's it. They're just
Yeah.
rotting, right? They're
The
rotting.
male living space meme by women.
Yes.
This ever the
That's what I
or
thought it was.
and it's kind of close. Bed rotting. The weird thing about it is that so there's a whole sub aesthetic thing called girl rot, and we'll get into that in a second. But bed rotting is very much so saying, you think I'm lazy, you think I'm rotting. It's like people, it's the reclaiming of a slurious term. When people say bed rotting, it's like when guys take that insult, like you don't have a bed frame, you don't have any decorations, and they're like, yeah, all a man needs is a PS4, a TV, Dark Souls, and a mattress straight on the ground. I ain't gonna buy nothing else because I don't need. Look how hard they try to get even a fraction of our pleasure. You know what I mean? That's that because it's the same energy as that. So when a person says bed rotting, it's like the same way that someone would say like I'm a real N word. They're reclaiming and they're saying like, yeah, all those negative stereotypes that you associate. Well, guess what? I'm tough. I don't give a fuck about
Is that the
your.
gamer equivalent of the N word, right? Reclaiming the N word is bed rotting? Yeah, I'm a bed
It's.
rotter. Yeah, I use the hard R. Yeah, what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna
What are
do,
you gonna do
brother?
about it?
I'm grinding on the side of my fucking bed spring here. No, it's less of a gamer thing. It's more of like an Instagram girl kind of thing or Instagram guy kind of thing. It's more of like a liberal, like there are different reasons. Okay, so we're already skipping to the psychology of why people say it, and we've already covered what it is. I think more interesting than where it's coming from or why it's being said, or at least that can be explored later. What sets that up more is what discussion is happening underneath it, what the details are. Because there is gender drama in it, very similar to what you were saying, which is that women are claiming, and specifically Fairy Queen's favorite, Radfem Hitler at RFH, she made a tweet at some point that was essentially claiming that all males outside of having a wife or a girlfriend that lives with them, their private space, whatever private space you give to a male, they will turn it into filth. It will become a disgusting, slobbering mess because what men do when they're outside of the feminine perspective is they just let themselves rot. They let themselves get fat and bald and ugly. When guys no longer are chasing pussy, what do? They let themselves go. She's got a very classic gimmick, that Twitter poster, which it's take something that men say about women, say it about men. It's the same thing where people are like, as soon as women bag a man, as soon as they get their beta bucks, they let themselves get fat and ugly. She's just trying to bounce it back and say, the second that men are in private, whether or not it is their own bedroom or when they share an apartment, what does a male apartment with 5 guys look like? What does the dinner table look like? What does the living room look like? It looks like a fucking pigsty. That's the accusation. What's your house look like?
Me? Personally?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not like
Do you live with
crazy.
women?
Yeah,
Is that
there's women in my house, yes.
okay? So that might be like a bad example.
Yeah.
But okay, what does your private space look like? We've got a bowl sitting on top of a plate.
Yeah, that's true. This is my breakfast. I haven't put it up yet, but I'm gonna.
Oh, and a fork got revealed. So you've got 2 forks, a spoon.
Oh, this fork right here? This is my streaming
Yeah, it was
fork.
invisible to you. This is sort of like what she's trying to make.
No,
a
this
point
is
of.
my streaming fork, though, right? Like
That's your streaming fork?
It's my streaming fork.
Just in case you need to eat something and you...
Yes, actually. If I'm
Okay, that's
going
fine.
hungry and I need something, like, it's clean, right? But it's
So,
streaming.
okay, this gets into the whole thing, which is that the idea that women and men have fundamentally different understanding of how space should be used and that men's is worse. How do you take that at first? Do you think that women are...
I think that's silly. Look, I'm old enough to have lived with several women in my life, different types of women. I've also been around women in their own spaces that are free of men, quote unquote, right? The ratio of filth to non-filth is pretty the same.
Really?
Well, I might be a little different because I grew up in the military, right? And I was in the military, and so maybe it's just military women, right? But like, or maybe
And
it's
military
just,
men in the opposite direction as well.
right? Like, they were all. The younger they were, the more likely it was to be filth. Like the less, like so. For example, if they were in college, it's much more likely to be filth. If they were older, it's much less likely to be filth. So the younger they were, that seemed to be the variable to me.
Do you think that's downstream?
They were.
Do you think that's downstream of rank, or do you think that it had genuinely to do? Because I do think that it's fair to say that the closer you are to a foxhole, the more likely you are to not give a shit if there's like dried pasta sauce on a plate compared to, because you're just like, I'm sorry, there are just like much more disgusting things that I've been near in the last month. If you're still doing intensive training or whatever, you're not gonna. Of course, you're used to filth. You're accommodated to filth. You're down in dirt. You're fucking crawling through mud. How much would you say? Maybe you're not a great example of this. So
Yeah,
I'll take
it
my.
may be hard for me to ask, but I
It might be a
I
bad
have
sample.
been outside of the military, right? Like I was only in for 6 years, so most of my life was outside of it.
Sure.
Even though I did grow, like I grew up in my house. Like my mom was very fastidious. My mom and dad both. In fact, my dad was more fastidious than my mom. So my mom would complain all the time. Like my dad could not go to bed, could not go to sleep if there were any dishes in the sink, clean or dirty, right? If the dishes were in the dishwasher, even they had to be up in a cabinet or in a drawer.
Was he in the military?
Yes, he was in the military. He was
I think
enlisted,
that there's
right? But he was higher rank, right, when he got out.
this falls into my main theory on why the difference is there. I do think that it's socialization, but I also think that the types of socialization that men get in the military and inside of military households are much closer to the normal teaching of housekeeping that all women, period, get. And that men who are raised lower class, or men who, so like they just have less eyes on the work they're doing because their parents are working more, or men who are raised by somebody, like by a single father, they're more likely to be filthy than your average woman.
Maybe I don't have. I have an intuition on this, but I don't have any statistics on this. To be clear.
Well, here let's do a impromptu statistic right now.
Sure.
Chat, in your opinion, ones in the, and we're talking all domains, period. I know that women have messier cars and messier bathrooms than men on average. That's my bias. I think that women treat their car less nice than guys because they think about cars differently than guys do. And I think that they treat their bathroom as sort of a place where they're able to be messy because they do a lot in a very short amount of time there. Outside of that, be very general. Try and take a sum average of all spaces that they take care of. Ones in chat if you think men are messier. Twos in chat if you think it is equal. Threes in chat if you think women are messier.
Let's get those votes going, babies. Okay, let's hear those ones, twos, and threes. Okay, what do you think, gang? Some twos, a lot of twos. A lot of twos. Oh, there's a three. Couple threes. A four. Thank you for your input there.
So useful.
Yeah.
They're saying non-binary people are filthy.
Sure,
to be clear, that one.
The twos.
True.
A 69. Great. Awesome. Sex number. Wonderful.
Yep. Cum is dirty.
Yeah. Someone is not using the number system and said dudes are messier. Fair enough. Thank you.
Okay, that's a one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't.
How many ones are you seeing at all?
That's the only one I see.
You know what's interesting? We know your demographic breakdown. So there might be some bias.
Like I think there's maybe 3 women in my chat. Mary is a woman. I can't confirm on that. And I think there's a couple others who watch me, but most.
There's fair reason though to say I think that part of the dynamic is that what guys consider to. It's just like when guys guys decide they're sick. You're not sick until you're sick as a dog. It's not dirty until it's filthy. That's kind of how I think most guys think about it. Versus women, you can call it sexist because it is. Neurotic. A house doesn't feel like a home until they've spent $2,000 customizing.
You know what I think it is? I think it's how it's enforced, right? I think women pay a higher social cost if their place isn't clean than a man would. Like if I as a guy, and this is sexist, it is. If I as a guy, if I go over to my bro's house and it's a little messier, I might not think or say anything. But if I go over to if I go on a date and she invites me in and it's a wreck, I am going to judge that way harsher.
You know what's crazy? I think that a lot of guys,
and I've been in that situation, right? Where I've gone into a woman's apartment and I've been like, "Damn girl, you live like this?"
I went home with a woman on a date once, and her apartment complex, every room, including her own, was infested with cockroaches. And
see, I couldn't do it. I'd leave.
I didn't leave. I wasn't there for very long, but I didn't choose to leave. I hung out for as long as the social circumstances permitted. Now, I know that there's something in me where, especially because I was younger. Nowadays, I think I would just straight up leave. I would one, I'm not single, so it's a lot easier for me
I
to
mean, look, if
in
I
my
really
imagination be
liked the
pictured.
girl, I'd be like, let's get a hotel room. I'll pay, right?
Sure.
But no, I'd be like,
But
oh, what's going on?
when I was really young, when I was like 16, the first time I ever was at a punk house. You know, the type of house that has a name and everybody is like they've changed their name to like Motor Oil or like Theodore, but all of the vowels have been swapped with Y's, and except for one U with an umlaut, and he gets canceled 2 years later for it. That kind of place, I like. You would go to the bathrooms, and the bathrooms would be disgusting. There would be actual, literal grime in every corner. And I do remember once going and sitting down, and I saw that there was no toilet paper roll. And I was just like, I guess that's just how they do it around here. Turns out the toilet paper was underneath the sink. But inside of my head,
You're
I
like, I
just
guess, what,
I
what
just
is,
adjusted the circumstances. I ended up taking the cardboard,
oh,
ripping it, and
gross.
using that. Because I was like, well, when you're in Dodge, hit the caravan, you know? Uh, so there is something about younger me where I knew that I was like, and this is true of all young people, you just kind of like, you want to fit in more than you want to be like prissy. I was like, I'm a
Is
16-year-old
asking
who's
for
all,
where's the toilet paper prissy?
if you're 16 and you're hanging out with a bunch of college age people and they're like drinking beers and you're in their bathroom and there's no toilet roll, I think that it's a pretty normal thought to say, well, if I walk out of this bathroom right now, even if it's not prissy, it'd be embarrassing to go out there and be like, hey, do you guys have any toilet paper? Because then everyone's just like, you're standing up right now. You got shit
If it's
glued between your
if
cheeks, bro?
it's more embarrassing to use something that's not toilet paper to wipe your ass and then having them find out that you did that when there was toilet paper underneath the sink the whole time. That's more embarrassing. So it's a risk
How'd they
versus
find
reward
out?
thing.
They didn't find out. You found out. I tell the story, and I don't think that it's that embarrassing because I can look at it
Mm.
as a and think about what my I knew what I was thinking when I was 16. I was just like,
Look,
I'm just
at
gonna wipe
16,
extra
you're
hard next time,
16,
but I'm gonna get as much
16,
as I
so I don't
can.
judge you for this,
You're
right?
trying
Like
to fit in. I'm just
I
saying
did
that I
a
think
lot of stupid shit at 16. I get it, right?
sure.
But
I'm
I
saying
recognize
that
it was
I
stupid
think it's
shit,
pretty
right?
normal, and I think that guys normalize filth. I'm using as an example because I'm saying what happens if you're hanging out with your older brother who's in college or your dad, and I think that we take on the standards of our same-sex fucking representative, and most mothers are extremely, as you say, fastidious. They are every holiday they think that there's the classic meme. What's the first thing that mom thinks the guests are going to do when they come over for Thanksgiving?
Yeah,
They're
that
going to
cow
check the
start.
kids' bedrooms.
Oh,
They're going to start lifting up. They're going to start dusting windowsills. That's just not how men act. One, because it's pathetic.
again, I was different. Like my dad was much more both were clean, to be clear. Like my mom wasn't like filthy, but my dad was definitely more anal about the cleanliness than my mom was. So
And maybe the military, I never consider the military dynamic. It's not
yeah.
something I never think about, but I do remember the things that people would say about those types of people. I can imagine OCD uh, being. I had a friend whose parents both had. Oh God, I can't remember what it's called, but they had some degenerative disease that made it so that they were immunocompromised. Um, it makes sense why some people and some men, if they had a certain condition, but by default, I think men tend to think of themselves as being able to just do it all once it gets filthy and wait until then. It's a lot easier for men to make those justifications for the social reasons that you said before. Now, I got a question. have you ever been in the circumstance where a woman says that a room is dirty and you think that it's clean?
Yes.
This is the part that I think is more interesting,
Okay.
which is
But I've been in that
how.
situation with men too, like where a guy would say, "I think this is dirty," and I thought it was fine.
Yeah, but I guess the
Again,
thing
this is
that's more
something where
interesting about.
I've lived in the barracks. They would inspect your room. The guy inspecting it would decide, right? And you would think it was okay. They would think, no, this needs cleaned up, right? And there was another dynamic. There's other power plays going on, right? So yeah, maybe different.
There are people who think that if you set your clothes on top of the upper deck, not the seat, not the shitting part, but the upper deck of the toilet, that you've essentially covered your your clothes in shit. If you're taking a shower and you set it on top of the upper deck, there are people who think that if you
I don't put my clothes on my toilet when I take a shower. And if you do, I am suspect of you.
even like on the upper deck,
It's weird. Don't
the
do it.
non-sitting part, well, where else would you put it?
Well, in my bathroom, I have a little shelf thing, and I put it on the shelf thing that's specifically there.
I got a
so
very
could
small
put
bathroom,
My
so I guess
clothes on.
that's just not a thing for me. We have
Look,
a
I get it if you don't have any other space. Fair.
fat people can't use my sink, how small it is. So I guess maybe that's what I'm used to. But it's like they said they would rather put it on the floor.
Yeah, I
You'd
would
rather
too.
put your clothes on the floor?
Yeah.
That's where people's feet go, and also I don't know if you know how gravity works. That's where the shit particles are going.
But it's also going on the upper deck too, because that thing, if you flush a toilet and you don't close the lid, that shit. Have you seen those like graphics?
You don't close the toilet lid?
Well, I do, right? But
You
hold
live
on.
with people. I live alone. I see what you mean. It's just like one of those things where something that is there are occasions where something that seems innocuous to you, and this is what I'm noticing is I don't know how much anybody's sense of what is clean tracks consistently with a fact that they learned, and how much of it is just them like having certain neuroticisms. Like I wouldn't put
Both?
clothes on the floor. I straight up would not do
What?
it.
Even your bedroom floor?
No. The fuck?
Really?
It's the floor, dude.
Okay, I have a system. Let me tell you the system. Okay.
Your system?
Yes, I have a system. Okay.
Fucking
If I wear clothes and they're dirty, I put them in the laundry basket to eventually go in the laundry, right? But if I wear, like, say I'm walking the dog and I need to put on a shirt because it's hot outside and this shirt, for whatever reason, is too warm, right? Obviously, this one isn't, right? But say I was. Say I was
Sure.
wearing something in my air conditioning that I was like, man, it's super hot outside, or opposite, super cold outside, but it's comfortable in here. I need to wear something. But I only wear it for that thing, and I come back and it's not dirty enough to put in the laundry basket, I'll just throw it on the floor or the chair or something. Because it's not dirty, but it's also not like fresh, so I don't put it back in the drawer, right?
Sure. I'm not. And I understand, and this is, I think, pretty normal, which is that if you're gonna be sweating and you're wearing it for a small amount of time, and it's not like you're not absorbing filth by osmosis by wearing it all day, and people aren't smelling you. So like I get that. What I'm saying, and maybe we can move back. I just think of the floor as the dirtiest part of the house, sans the toilet bowl, something where shit goes explicitly, and especially the bathroom floor. Because that's like where the feet go. That's where the dust goes. Whenever you sweep, that's where things are moving towards the edges. The closer something is to the edge of a room, the closer that something is to the floor, the more I just instinctively think that it's dirty. This is the inconsistency to me, because that tracks my logic. Your logic tracks along with the bathroom, for instance. Why do you think of the floor as being less filthy when people
Well,
put
my
their
place
feet
is
there?
bigger. Like, I don't throw it. Like, I also wouldn't put it directly on the part of the floor that is next to the toilet, right? I would keep it away from the toilet. I would put it on the floor further away from the toilet, right?
But
Like,
all of the bathroom, within reason, unless you've got literally like Shangri-La ass bathroom, all of that bathroom has shit particulate on the floor. It's being stepped on. That foot is stepping on another place. That just seems like a greater, because you have feet, you have traffic, you have air that's moving when people walk. It just, answer me this. Do you think if we were to take a prediction, if we were to do
off on a tangent, fair enough. Go ahead.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, if you were to try to be objective here and put money on it, would you expect that there are more dirty things on the bathroom floor or on the upper deck of a toilet for people who have a normal, regular cleaning the floor, cleaning the toilet procedure?
Probably the floor.
And yet,
but the normal procedure isn't mine either, right? Like, so I'm talking about for me specifically. I know my cleaning habits. I know
you walk into the room.
I don't wear my shoes in the house, right? So that makes the floor a little less susceptible to some of those dirty things and things like that. However, I keep like toilet paper, cleaning supplies, all these things, and washcloths and things on the area of this, right, that I use for cleaning, that may or may not be the cleanliest, right? Like a washcloth a rag that I use to clean with, right?
You put that on top of the upper deck?
Sometimes. After I use it, as a place to store it, like, okay, I don't want to put it in a place it's gonna get dirty, right?
Are you gonna use it again?
It is going to make dirty, right? Does that make sense? Like for example, if I just used my washcloth, I wouldn't put that just used washcloth in a place I wanted to keep clean. Does that make sense? Because I
hear what you're saying.
I just washed my ass with this thing, okay? I'm not putting it on my plate.
Well, yeah, of course you're not putting it on your plate, but I'm saying, like, for you, because the upper deck is a place where you put gross things.
Yes.
I understand why that's nastier to you. But for the average household, I would say this thing that's up here, when you shit down here, and as long as you're not a heathen, you close the lid and flush,
but you also
is less dirty than the thing down here.
But
shit goes downstream, right?
Yes and no. I mean, like, distance does matter here.
Can we get out of the finish your sentence, and then I want to get out of the loop, because the whole point is that I'm saying cleanliness is not coming from objectivity; it is coming from the neurotic part of us.
We'll get out of the loop. We'll get out of the loop.
That associates certain things with filth.
Let me just say this: that we are all, most people, touch the floor as a matter of course all the time with their feet, right? Especially if you don't use shoes in the house, you're always walking on it, right? You're always sitting on the floor. I sit on the floor sometimes, right? You just sit on it, right? It's natural, it's normal. My pants, if I'm wearing pants in the house, are also on the floor. In that case, when I'm sitting on the floor, I don't think it any out of the ordinary. However, I don't usually touch the upper deck of the toilet, and so that's a place where it's not normalized to rest things that are
and I think that what normalize is the right word here, because I do think that our sense of cleanliness is deeply to do with familiarity. It's about pattern. It's about what we use it for. It's our associations. It is not objective. It's not, and I see more disagreement amongst men with one another about what is clean and isn't. But it's just like, it seems as if we've gotten into this place where, oh my God, I'm trying to remember what I saw women on social media say. There were a bunch of things that shocked me.
Yeah, let's switch topics. Let's talk about women. We've talked a lot about women's rights. Let's talk about women's wrongs. Okay. What are the
we are talking about women's
they're
wrongs.
Saying? Okay.
Absolutely. Number one is that I think that women have been taught this thing that they're supposed to, like, unlearn all these things, and they want equality and they want this, that, and the other. But one of the things that they're not, like, really willing to recognize is how much of this, like, internal workings of the psychology is coming from other women. It's not coming from men. Men You said that if you were in the company of a filthy woman, that you would be disgusted and walk away. I think that this is a little rare. Maybe this has to do with like younger men, and
Look,
maybe there
there's
are
a
some.
level here. There's a level. Look, if they just
There's a
have a few
level.
dirty dishes, I'm gonna overlook it. But if they're
Yeah.
like, if there's like living creatures crawling out of when I sit down on the couch and suddenly they're scurrying, then I'm leaving.
Sure. Sure. I guess the part that I think too is like one, women will say like he doesn't have a bed frame. I'm sorry, I'm not fucking with that. You got to get your act together. And you could say, obviously pussy has a higher market value than dick, so they get to leverage that or something. That's the common thing that people say. But I think even more than that, you have to like recognize how much of you being like, I think you're being prissy when you say that like not having a good sense of design is the same thing as like filth. And when women are like, oh, we have to try so hard, and they talk about this idea of the mental burden, the cost. Oh, we have to think so hard about keeping the house clean, and men don't have to think about it, and they don't recognize how much that you don't have to think about it. You chose that. No man is trying to enforce, or at least not in my neck of the woods. Maybe if you live in fucking bumfuck, like caveman time, but like I've never met a man. For me, my age demographic and younger, men fetishize women being a little bit filthier because I think that they like the idea that theoretically the woman will be less picky about their cleanliness, less nagging.
So you are saying that women, or men, I should say, men prefer women who are a little bit dirtier? I'm
It's
not talking like
a
sexually
little bit,
dirtier,
oh, of
but I'm talking
course.
about like a little like less clean, less clean. I'll say that.
Yeah, there's a lot of like
Really?
fetishization of filth. I mean, there's the damn bitch you live like this meme. Like it's supposed to be like a baddie has this nasty ass apartment. She's making like this little cute face, and while the guy is in there like judging her, he ain't like walking around out of there and being like, "Damn, you're disgusting." He's like, "Damn, bitch, you're this hot. You're this put together on the outside, but this is what your private space looks like. This house is fucking filthy."
But that doesn't like that's something they overlook. That doesn't draw them in. I don't think
Mm,
a normal man sees a
girl rot
woman.
is a thing. Girl rotting, and this is when we can get into that part, which is that like girl rotting is like a thing that people do like find attractive or they associate with attractiveness. There's like this idea, like God, there's so many fucking memes
Look,
of just like,
hold on
oh,
to my audience. I'm never gonna say that no one ever finds something attractive. Like if you pick anything in all in the world, there's gonna be some dude, some woman out there who said that's hot. I'm talking in generalities, right? And in generality, I'm gonna stand on this threshold that I think that women who are less clean, it's not a turn on, it's not a draw. It's
I'm
something
not
that
talking
men
about
might
let's.
overlook.
It's not the cleanliness, it's not the filth that is the attractive thing. It's the idea that the woman is lower maintenance. That acts as like a sign of the thing. The thing that's attractive is the idea that she's going to be less of an ag, she's going to be less on my ass. That's the thing I think guys are into. And when they're looking at it, I think there's also potentially a little bit of I can save her, I can fix her kind of thing going on. That's a little bit of a thing in there too. But like there's a lot of people like okay, Wetlands as a movie, people do have fetishes around some very disgusting things that happen in that movie that girl does. That girl purposely sits and rubs her pussy on a dirty toilet. We know that what was that porn actress that went into movies? She's a Twitch streamer right now. She's kind of a communist. She's like been reading communist theory. Okay, hold on. Communist former porn star turned Twitch streamer. What's her name, chat? You know her.
I have no idea. Are you talking about Ayala? The one who doesn't
No,
shower?
not Ayala. Although Ayala, some people very much so like Sasha Grey is who I'm talking about. Sasha
Oh.
Grey's first porn video was the day she turned 18. And what it was her licking a public toilet, tongue, just rubbing it on a public toilet seat and like getting face fucked. There is definitely, and you're never seeing women saying like, you know what I really want? I want a dude that's caked in fucking shit. I want a guy who has no bed
No, but
frame
you
living in a
will see
million.
women. You will see women who love a guy just outside the gym, hasn't showered yet, who is sweaty after coming in manly, covered in dirt. Right? There are some women who are attracted to that. They see it as rugged.
Sure, there's ruggedness and there's like normal, but it wouldn't. Look at the difference here. Women want the guy to be active and they want it to be like sweat from him proving his masculinity. He's out there, the thing that it represents is that he is like a strong masculine man. The thing that girl rotting represents is that, oh, thank God, I have a woman that if I'm with her, I can just let myself go. I don't have to try to be better than I am. I don't have to live up to all of, because what's the fucking, there's the classic TikTok meme that got made where a woman says, if he does this, that's a red flag. He does this, it's a red flag. And he's got it's ick. The idea of an ick, there is a bottomless list of icks that women will openly express, and men, if they go down the list, he's just adding to the list. Oh, there's another one. Things I shouldn't do if I want to have a girlfriend. The whole idea is the ick, people talking about bed frames, people talking about even income to a certain extent. One of the things that people are saying is that women are too damn picky. I want a woman that's a little less low, like high maintenance. I want a woman that I can just rot with.
I understand wanting someone who's not going to ride your ass all the time, right? And is not going to expect like overly much. But I don't know if that is equating to women who are just filthy or less clean than others. I don't.
But it acts as a sign. It acts as a
I
sign.
don't know if. I just maybe maybe. I just feel like if I'm just trying to put myself in these shoes, right? So if
Sure.
I'm on a date and I have a choice between two women, one who keeps their house immaculate and one who lives like
Absolute squalor.
Yeah, just their house is just a mess. I'm choosing the immaculate one every time.
Sure.
I think most people would.
Let's say, I think that's because your imagination for immaculateness and your imagination for filth are out of tune with one another, in my opinion. Like if you walked in, and the second you walk in, she puts you inside of a fucking chamber and she delouses you.
Okay, we're not
She makes you
talking.
put on the
We're not talking
booties.
crazy on either direction. Okay, I'm not
Okay.
talking the super extremes in either direction where you have to wear a fucking hazmat suit, right? Before you go in and get in. Like,
Okay, how about
deloused
this?
and stuff. I'm talking about if you go in, like if I walk in, and I go and I tour the house, and dishes are put away, everything's clean, floors are mopped, right, or vacuumed if they have carpet. There's no clutter, and it's just very well kept. That is attractive to me much more than going in and there's just stuff everywhere. There's boogers, like boogers on the couch, right? You found their booger spot where they pick their nose and wipe it, right? You know what I'm talking about? Like,
Okay. Let me do a comparison.
Sure.
Let's say, or rather, let me ask you to engage in an imagination thing. Imagine that you're a teenage boy living during an era where all of social media has been consistently bombarding you with the idea that women are super picky and they have all of these things, and then you met a woman who has no reason to be picky and clearly isn't picky. You don't think that they would be attracted to that at all? Because you grew up differently.
I can understand and wrap my head around what you're trying to say. But what I am saying is that, and fellas, if you're listening and you want some good old-fashioned wick advice, okay? You want a woman who does clean well. You want a woman who cares about not only her appearance, but your appearance. You want that. That's good. That's a good thing. You want someone who is going to help you to become a better person, right? If you get into a situation where you're just going to bleh, that will actually care about that and help you through that. You want that. That's a net good.
Why do you have to say that though? Why do you have to say that? Why do you have to instruct that? That's obvious to anybody who doesn't have a core in their heart of wanting to give up. A lot of people want to give up. The standard conversation that you are getting out of people that are coming out of college, that are in high school and are looking towards their future is they're just like, I'm probably going to die before I'm 35. They're saying all these pessimistic things. It's a very negative time. There aren't many people who are saying the future's looking bright and everything's great and I need to try, and I'm not going to get burned for it. A lot of people feel like they're going to get drafted into a war and they're going to get shot for Israeli oil.
Okay, they're retarded.
You know?
These people are retarded. They're kids. They're retarded.
Yes.
That's a
yes,
retarded
but
viewpoint.
That's not the point.
And what I'm
That's
telling my
point.
audience is don't be retarded. Stop it. Stop
Sure.
being retarded. Give me money, by the way. If you want this conversation to end or go on longer, give me money telling me what you want. If you want it to end, give me money. If you want it to keep going, give me money. Either way, just kind of give me money, gang. Send some super chats. It'd be very nice.
Well,
anyway.
Okay, this is because this is why I think it's two things. Let's get past struggling with the idea and get to to my thoughts on it right now. And I want your thoughts on this. Right now, number one, I think that we are in the snail girl topic, the burnout topic. I think we are experiencing a big swing in the opposite direction from the grind set culture. I think a lot of people want to give up. I think a lot of people
$2 to shave your stash.
No.
Okay, fair enough.
Fuck no. What? Listen, I need 400K. I need Putin to show up at my front door and suck me off if I'm gonna cut this thing off with a knife against my neck. I need to be at peril. I think by and large people want to give up. People have a great pessimism. There is this thing inside of them that just wants to get off the treadmill, wants to stop running the rat race. That's existed for a while, but I think that it's becoming the general norm. After a while where it was like everybody wants to be a content creator, everybody wants to be a self-made man, everybody wants to start a drop shipping company. Here's how you can. What people want right now is to be lazy. If I'm going to make money, it better be drop shipping. It better be crypto. It better be sports gambling. We are getting lazier and lazier because we don't want to feel like a fool for putting the effort in and getting no return. It's a pessimism thing. And that's why bedrotting right now, I think, is trending inside of the pop psychology, because imagine if the article, instead of saying bedrotting, they said, maybe you need to go out into nature. The thing that they've been saying for ages. Touch grass. What do people say? That's ableist. That's queer-phobic. You can't make. That's anti. That's
where are you? Hold on.
I live in San Francisco.
$2 from Gelatinous Rube to say $20 and I will shave Tuna's stash. Fair enough. €5 from Mary to say she's a 10, but she's got a messy room and may have taken a bribe from Russia. Okay, chat. Which is a bigger? Okay, you have to choose. Girl rot, snail girl with the messiest room you've ever seen in your life, or woman who's nice, right? They're both hot, to be clear, in this hypothetical. So, hot girl, messy room, like filthy room. Hot girl, maybe a foreign agent. What you picking? What you choosing, guys? Okay, guys, what you choosing? Maybe she calls in and starts speaking Russia. You don't understand what she's saying, but every once in a while, and she keeps on like wanting you to make these shows about how Ukraine is a foreign adversary to the United States, right? And every time you do, you just get like the hottest sex you've ever gotten, right? Or a woman, none of that, but damn, you got to sleep with one eye open in case the cockroaches rise up against you, right? Like you gotta, like, is that scene in Aliens with the flamethrowers, right? That's what it's like going into the closet of her room, okay? What are you taking? Which you going for? Straight to the sex gulag. Girl rot. I'll fix her, I swear. Wait, the spy one. Okay, there's
It's a flip. There's a flip.
consternation in the chat.
I think that you put your finger on the scale a bit too much because you're saying, how about this? Girl who never lets you inside of her house, or girl who is unwilling to let you look or will not tell you why her last name is Kolesnikov. I do not talk about family. Let's talk about your YouTube channel and where you are going with it. Because, like, Wick, I don't know. You probably already know this. When I was, do you know that I lived out of a car for about
I
2 years? So I lived out of a car. I took showers in a Planet Fitness. I slept in the parking lot of the Amazon that I worked at, which was one of 3 jobs. This was throughout the entirety, basically, of COVID, and a little bit after. While I was doing that, I did date a doctor who lived inside of a house that her parents bought for her to live inside of while she goes to undergrad. So I've been inside of the I've been the seat like I didn't let her know I was homeless. I'm not going to tell her that. What the fuck are you talking about? That's stupid. So I do
Wait,
think
is that
there is, like,
deceptive? There are some women who would say that without disclosing that you sexually assaulted this woman.
you know, that would be a great argument inside of the retard space. But for people that have normal topics, I think also that wouldn't play well because the same types of people that try and cancel people for that would be like, excuse me, you can't just ask a person why they're unhoused, why they're experiencing unhousedness, you know. Or the same thing with like the if you're.
Do you think it would be fair to turn a woman down who is unhoused? They have no, or a man. There's no other factor or variable. You would like them the same, right? Like, they're hot. You find them attractive. You find them interesting. They're caring. They're all these things. Do you think
I
it's
wouldn't. I think that
fair
you
to
can
turn them down because they don't have a house?
I think you can turn down someone from being like fucking like black. I think that you can turn down people for anything. I personally just think
Why
that
did you
that's
go to the black thing first of all?
because I'm going for like the most obvious. Like, you can be a racist, and I think that you're allowed to be a racist. Like, that's the highest thing. I don't give a shit. I think people can turn people down for anything. But I will say, homeless isn't just homeless. It's a stupid word for anybody that's ever done homeless outreach, because you know that there are people that are living out of their car, and then there are people that are addicted to crack cocaine who are sleeping inside of a bush, who refuse to go to job interviews. And then there are people who are like, I just got kicked out of my house. I love my kids. And I'm giving blowjobs so that I can keep them inside of a hotel room so that they don't, like, it's a very extremely wide thing. And their personality.
Did you meet a guy like that who's giving other dudes blowjobs to keep his kids housed?
I'm talking to one, bitch. Oh. Sorry.
Damn! Shots fired. Fair enough. I don't have, like, that'd be weird because I don't have kids. So, like, I would have more questions. But
what is a bunker? What is a bunker other than a homeless shelter for America's stupidest homeless? I'm just kidding, man. Jokes aside, because you don't really have a house when you're in the military. You kind of do, but it's kind of dumb. The whole point, you probably do because you get married. I love when people are like, let's get married and have a kid so that I get paid more.
That's the military, to be clear, right?
Yeah,
I knew a lot of people
that
in basic, right, who, or just not basic, training. I forget the term of it, but there's a time after basic that you're in training for what your specific job is, and a lot of people in that situation did get married simply because you got to live off base.
Yep.
And you got your own house assigned to you, and you would got a standard living check given to you. And a lot of people were like that.
If I was a Russian operative, it would be like 2-for-1 deal, right? Because if you wanted to, I would get married to one of those guys because they're closer to the information. They get
They
to live
warned
off
us.
base, which means
We had
they get to
briefings.
take the information off base. And
Yes,
even better than that, they're desperate to get married, as opposed to
we
most
had
American men desperate to not get
we
married.
had briefings warning us
Yeah.
that foreign agents would. I'm trying to remember the exact wording that we were given. I'm going to paraphrase it. I can't remember the exact wording we were given. But if she's way out of your league and she looks foreign, do not engage, right? Like
Yeah.
if she looks like she's from China or she's got some Asian in her and she's like if she's like super out of your league, stay away because they're probably a foreign agent that's looking to get some information, right?
Imagine the time that somebody like saw somebody's wife and then reported them. They were like, "Sorry, you get called into the office. You're like, your wife is too hot," and you're like, "Listen, I've got a big piece though," and they're like, "She didn't know that before she dated you," and it's such an awkward conversation. But whole point is, you know what type of homeless person a person is by hanging out with them. You figured it out quick.
Fair enough.
But so one, I think everybody's giving up, and I think people want to give up, and people fantasize about giving up. This is what's really weird. And we're at a weird place in some ways. Maybe it's always been this way, but like, I think that the average Zoomer dream right now is to like give up and not contribute to society. And all of the arguments that are being made, oh, I'm an anti-capitalist. Oh, I'm just like not trying to be a girl boss. I think that that's like bad for your mental health. I think this like bed rotting thing, a lot of this, it's all excuses to give up. It's all excuses. Oh, COVID. Oh, I don't want to go. Like, I know that they're saying that COVID's over, but I just don't want to leave my house because, like, that would be immoral. Are you sure that you're not just a fucking loser that wants to be a NEET for the rest of your
Well,
life?
I wonder because we've seen a rise in mental illness, right? Like depression and other things. I wonder if these are connected, right? This
Oh, yeah.
rise in just because all this sounds like depression. Sounds like they're fucking
Yeah.
depressed. Sounds like they need to get a little bit of help. Because if you are thinking those thoughts that I should just give up, those are not good thoughts. Those are not your
I
friends.
think
Those thoughts are not your friends, ladies and gentlemen. They're
I
your
would agree.
enemies. You need to fight them. They are Russian agents. They're Russian agents sent directly to your brain from Putin, okay? Who are trying to get you to give up. You need to fight against that for America, ladies and gentlemen. For America, right? That's what we need to do.
I think that people need to start treating pop psychology and articles about mental health the same way that we treat a skeevy plumber. We know that good advice would pull away traffic. We know that rebranding something that's had a name for ages means that there's a new article to click on, which means new ad traffic. We know that Google AdSense is the real motivation behind this thing, as opposed to someone that is, say, bound by a code of ethics to actually advocate for your better interest. I think that this is actually causing more problems than anything. One of the main ones was like this, like, so bed rotting. I think that the entire idea needs to be distrusted because I don't think that people are tired because they're overworked. I think they're tired because they're not spending the free time that they do have doing things that are energizing. I think number two, the idea that you can binge work and then binge self-care back and forth, that's not an unhealthy pattern, and that creating a like less of like I spend 4 months absolutely destroying my body and then I spend a month just sleeping in my, I'm sorry, your muscles atrophy for a month and then you overexert yourself for 4 months. Like this, there's a binge thing going on, which is why I compared it to gooning before. I think we've gotten to this idea that like time doesn't mean anything. Time can be, our bodies can be treated however we want. Time is an elastic thing. You can always, this is what I think is going on right now, is that everybody wants this idea that they can have a sort of binge and purge culture, and that is fucking fake as shit. You should probably, this is obvious, everybody that like is anybody has already, or anybody that's ever plugged into a computer has heard people say, oh, you should be eating vegetables, you should be eating real proteins, not eating fucking processed carbs out the ass, and you should be working out 3 times a week or something. But instead of thinking of it as like someone's trying to guilt you into being a good person, it should just be like, you would be less tired if you, and you are kind of addicted to the same behaviors that make you tired.
If
Something
you are
like that.
feeling, man, there's this list I saw, and I thought it was pretty good. I'm trying to remember it. If you're feeling tired, take a shower. If you're feeling worthless, eat something. If you're feeling this, go out and exercise a little bit. Right? We don't understand how much the chemicals in our brain, right, affect our moods and affect how we feel, and activity, diet, even cleanliness affects our mood. It really does. Like, you feel better when you are not living in filth. You feel better when you're not living with cockroaches. You feel better as a person.
Yeah.
You
And
feel
you also
better if you shower.
You have naturally higher standards for yourself if those standards are already met, which means that they're easy to retain once they're there. But maybe even more than that, there's like this, how do I put it? Self-care as a word keeps being associated with indulgence. It keeps being associated with this idea of give yourself a break, as opposed to being an integrated and essential part of being productive and energetic to begin with. And it's kind of a CEO, I think it's coming downstream from a CEO culture, like, oh, I went on an ayahuasca retreat in order to like clear my mind. I did a dopamine detox. This idea that you can hustle, and then purge it. I think that we're taking advice from the most unhealthy people in the entire world, who the only reason that they are able to sustain the thing is because they do it for like 5 years and then they retire, or they sell a company, they essentially de facto retire because they don't even do any work, they just have passive income. We have to stop taking advice from people that are rich as hell and have no reason to be trusted. What is it? Fucking Lindemann talks about this. He talks about what he calls the 4-hour day. You spend 8 hours working, 8 hours sleeping, 2 hours commuting. Right? So that right there is 18 hours. And then you have probably at least 2 hours that you have to do doing chores, food, normal activities. How much of your day on the days that are your work days actually belongs to you? So little that you feel like those hours should be spent as a debaucherous rebellion against stolen time. So during those 4 hours, you absolute pig out. You go goblin mode. You bed rot. Because you
goon.
your life.
You get that goon on.
And I think that it's because of a mass somatic illiteracy. People don't know when they're tired what the cause is. People don't know when they're angry what the real cause is. They just know that they're angry. I think in general that's becoming like every generation is getting closer and closer to being out of tune with what those signals mean. Like you said before, why do I want to cut my wrists open right now? Well, it must be because I'm a worthless piece of shit. I'm taking the most extreme.
Maybe it is, but go on.
But like you're saying, maybe it's just the fact that like you feel physically upset and you haven't been taught to understand hunger until it is beating down your front door. And if that's the only time that you ever eat, you only ever piss when you need to piss a fucking 2-gallon jug, your body is going to be kind of screwy.
Okay, I'm going to talk about, maybe I just need to talk about some basic shit that I thought everyone knew, but maybe not everyone does. So I'm going to just lay it out to you basic, okay? Sure. The basics. Habits. We need to develop habits. Habits are developed by routines. These are good things. There's a
Makes it
very
easier.
simple, there's a very simple formula to feeling good.
Sure.
Assuming you don't have some fucking mental problems that maybe you should go checked out for, right? Get 6 to 8 hours of sleep a night. Go to sleep when the sun is down. Get up when the sun is coming up, right? Eat 3 meals a day. Okay? Walk, exercise, doesn't have to be like huge exercise, but do something active for at least 30 minutes a day. Right? And if you do this every day for a week, you will feel better. Shower, brush your teeth morning, noon, and night after you get up, after in the middle of the day, and before you go to sleep, and take a shower as well.
You have a slightly more mature.
Easy.
Slightly.
It's easy. Just do it for a week. If you're feeling bad, if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling upset, if you're feeling worthless, do that for a week. You will feel better. I promise you. I promise you.
You have a slightly more mature audience than a lot of people that would be advocating for a lot of the pop psych things. Even though sounds pop psych, I think it's pop in the fact that it is like colloquial, but it's not trending magazine infographic pastel type shit to a certain extent. Let me offer the counter arguments that you would often get out of people from that. I have ADHD.
Take your fucking meds.
When I take the meds and it doesn't make cleaning more satisfying. I always
Cleaning
I try and build a
satisfying.
habit.
What do you think it's supposed to be satisfied with this? No, you're not here to make it. Not everything you do is going to make you feel good, but if you do all these things in a routine, day after day, you will, in general, feel good.
Okay.
No one individual thing is going to give you a dopamine hit, right? Some things you're not going to want to do.
Sure.
You're going to wake up, you're going to be like, I don't really want to have breakfast today. Have it anyway.
It takes me an hour to do the dishes.
What the fuck are you doing that it takes you an hour to do dishes?
Well, these people would have lots and lots of dishes built up. The simplest, the counter argument would be because all of your dishes are dirty. If you do your dishes more often, they wouldn't.
Yeah, it takes
you hear
minutes.
What I'm saying though is that
this is going to take me minutes.
Are you familiar? It's not exactly the most up to date, commonly talked about thing. Have you ever read the book Games People Play?
I have not.
Old text. Basically, it outlines this concept of pastimes. It's transactional analysis. It's one of the founding texts on transactional analysis.
Oh, I forgot one. Drink water. If you drink and stay hydrated. Yeah, that's a big one. I almost forgot that. Thank you for reminding me, chat. But yeah, drink water. Stay hydrated.
Inside of Games People Play, Eric Byrne, MD, this is the guy that wrote it. One of the things he outlines, not one of the things he outlines a shitload of them. They're what are called pastimes, and they're basically social games. And they're not games like a board game. They are linguistic games. They are excuses. They are little tricks. They're dishonest turns of phrase or loops. We would call them loops here that people do. And the first one he outlines, because number one, it's the easiest one to fall trick to, but also because it's the most common, is called yes, but. Yes, comma, but. And the point of yes, but is I come to you with a problem. You offer a solution. I say, yes, that's smart, but here's the reason that doesn't work. You offer another solution. 17 people crowd around me. They're all offering me every solution. Every single time I say yes, but, I create an excuse why I can't do that, why that won't work, why that won't sustain. At the end, everybody says, and this is the point of the game, this is what he purports, the whole point of the game was to be given permission to do nothing.
Sure. Well, it also relieves you of any responsibility. The control is outside of you. people don't like to have responsibility. They think it doesn't feel good to be responsible for something and to realize that you failed yourself even, right?
It also communicates
You
that
like to blame others, right?
it also communicates that anybody who does judge you has no good reason to, because you are not accommodating to the unique circumstances of that person. Don't you know that Ayla is autistic? She can't shower more than two
Yes,
times a
she
year.
can. Autism doesn't like aside from the
That's
big
that's my
autism,
favorite.
right? There's a big autism, like
Yeah.
there's some that you like.
You're
Autism
screaming
is
in
such a
bed and
broad
punching
term.
yourself in the
I
head.
don't
You're
like.
clinic.
We need a better. We need more specific terms here because autism is so broad. It can cover so many. There's the autism of a Twitch panelist versus the autism of I can't associate with humans without having a mental breakdown type.
It's the problem of our time with autism is that it's the new word that you say that means quirky. I'm just kind of a different kind of girl. I'm like an autistic girl in that like I collect keyboards. I'm sorry, you're not autistic in the way that anybody cares.
The way
If
that
you don't
actually
have a
matters or affects your day in any meaningful way, yes.
this is the problem with the spectrum, not the fact that it is a spectrum, but that people will push them they will push themselves further and further one way or the other in conversation where they represent themselves to be on the spectrum, not like in how they behave, but like how they set standards about how people are allowed to set expectations of them. They will push them further in one way or the other, always to their own benefit. Always to their own benefit. Same thing with ADHD. Same thing with pretty much any personality flaw or, trait. They will say it is a flaw or an asset depending on which situation. And this is what I'm talking about. We have a mass desire to get our own way, to give up, to have expectations taken off of us. And I don't know what you're going to do to stop that. You specifically, Wick, you need to fix this. But what are we going to do to fix this? What is anybody going to do for their kids to make? I feel lucky that I have work ethic. But even then, over the last 10 years, I've felt my work ethic decline. And I don't think it's just because of aging. I think it's partially because I see everybody else slacking off. So it's hard to be like, oh, we're all one ship. We're all keeping it afloat. It's like, well, treasure the commons. Everybody's going to stop respecting the commons. But I think also there's other forms of environmental play. This thing isn't helping. I'm not saying that cell phone bag, ooga booga, go to dumb phone. I'm saying that the relationship and the standards and the programming and the way that this has been integrated and the standards that we have where sociality that we haven't learned. Some we're learning bit by bit. Some of us probably can go an entire day without looking at any social media at all. But if you live in a jobs are getting easier. Most people, when they're at work, are looking at social media for at least an hour over a course of an 8-hour day. And I would say that's the low end.
Oh, yeah, it is.
You're spending probably 6 out of your 8 hours. There's probably 2 hours where you don't look at all, but you're at least looking at notifs, opening. It's fucking second nature. We are... Oh, he's saying we need to be more mindful and use our phones less. He's so fucking
I'm
smart.
looking at it throughout this conversation, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah, because you're waiting on a text back from that OCD baddie with the clean-ass room who just happens to have a very thick accent that you can't seem to put your finger on. But you would like to put your finger in. So when we're looking at the solutions, I don't think anybody wants the solution. That's the real problem. Nobody wants to be better. Nobody wants to be off social media. Nobody wants.
Do you know why?
Why? What's your opinion?
Because they haven't tasted it. There's a whole generation who's grown up not knowing that there is another way, that have been coddled. I'm going to sound like the boomerest boomer that's ever boomed, okay? So
Yeah,
hold on to your britches, okay?
Thing.
I think that parents have failed their children of this generation. They have coddled them. They have fed them the affirmation, words of affirmation things. Oh, you can do it, buddy. And any kind of negative feedback is seen as bullying or hurting your child and things like that. Kids need discipline. They need regimen. They need routine. And they need to be taught good, healthy habits. And some of those good, healthy habits aren't something they're going to want to do, but you got to make them do it, right? Because here's the thing. How do we fix this problem? I can't fix the whole problem, but I can convince people around me, people who are struggling, right? Again, aside from real medical conditions that exist, but in general, if you are feeling a malaise, if you're just feeling worthless, if you are feeling like giving up, take a week, 3 meals a day, and I'm not talking McDonald's, right? 3 relatively healthy. They don't have to be like super diets, right? But relatively healthy meals. Stay hydrated throughout the day. 6 to 8 hours of sleep a night, right? And 30 minutes of exercise a day. Do that for a week, and you will feel better.
I've got a proposition.
I promise you. And once they do, once they see it works, because nothing succeeds like success. Once they see it work, they are more likely to continue to do that. And I think that a lot of kids, a lot of people, a lot of the younger generation just hasn't experienced that because they've been allowed to just do whatever felt good in the moment, right? Which is it often, not always, but it often leads to a situation where you just learn bad habits that are very short term but lead to a general malaise.
Wick, I've got a theory, and I want your thoughts on it in particular. Let me make my camera stop moving so you can actually see what I'm trying to show. What if, this is my personal take, can you fucking work? I hate tracker webcams. They're so annoying. Anyway, what if the reason, I'll just fucking hide myself for a second so you can see this. What if the reason that people's bedrooms look like this is because the streets outside their bedrooms look like this?
Maybe.
I think this is going downstream. I do think that there is an authority figure that is teaching us that being filthy and giving up is the right thing to do. I think it's the government, bro. I think that this is coming straight downhill. I do not think.
Why would the government be wanting this?
It's not that they want it. It's an unfortunate consequence of thinking that you aren't responsible for this. The fucking Hoovervilles in every fucking city in America. Everywhere is filth. Everywhere is disgusting. Every highway is broken down. How many bums do you cross on an average day, Wick? Do you go out much?
Almost
I don't want to be
none. I live in a very rural area. The other day, a funny story. It's a bit of a side note. I live in again Pennsylvania, very rural area, Pennsylvania. It was the most hilarious thing ever. I was walking my doggy, and I looked over, and there was a Mennonite girl. Okay, well, I say girl, she was probably in her 20s. I don't know. She had the bonnet. You know what a Mennonite is, right? They had the bonnet. They're kneeling, not knee length, but ankle length skirt, right, and things like that. And she's just jogging.
Something like this.
No, nothing like that.
Don't worry about it.
Okay, but she's just jogging, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? It's fine. But then she has her AirPods in, which was weird to me, like because again, very rural, down to earth thing. Not Amish because they're not Amish, right? But anti-technology, stay away from technology. And she's got the whole getup on, and she's just jogging. She waves hello and everything, and she's got those AirPods in. I have no idea what she was listening to, right? Could be gangster rap for all I know. But like she's just going, and I'm like, okay, this is just wild to me. Anyway, carry on.
No, I think that that's a fair observation, and I think about it. Oh God, I'm trying to remember. I actually wrote it's so funny that you say AirPods, because I've written about this. This is one of my prevailing theories about a lot of. I think that there's environmentally attained malaise. And I think that it's happening in ways that you don't necessarily recognize a lot of times. But one of them is the total abandonment of the oral commons. The open air in public is no longer a thing that you share and you're expected to be like hearing all the time. Everybody in public is always wearing the AirPods. And to have to hear the homeless people screaming, to have to hear the terrible sonic environment, and it's not just homeless people screaming. There are all kinds of other sounds happening all the time. To be exposed to that is to belong to a lower class of person. The ghetto blaster is called it for a reason. One, because it's like a cheap way to host a party in the ghetto. But another thing is like it is very much so like when your phone has a loud ringtone in public, people are going to assume that you're a poor black person. People have all these fucking like it is considered a part of the lower class to make public sound. It is not appropriate. There's fucking articles written all the time where people talk about how it's actually classist and racist to think that speaking loudly in public and listening to music with the speaker, with the Bluetooth speaker, is like the associations are known by everybody as this like this is low class, this is poor people, this is like low culture. The public air is no long it's you're supposed to abandon it. If you don't have your AirPods in, if you aren't listening to a hustle grind podcast on the highway, you may as well be a screaming lunatic.
So I'll say this. I understand what you're trying to say here, but I think that the reason why it's considered low class to be loud in public is because it is infringing on other people's air, other people's common space. I would agree with you that the fact that we are all so isolated, even when amongst in a crowd right now, that we can be isolated, right? That it's become a social faux pas to talk to those people around you, right? Like, so I remember growing up, it was common to have a conversation in a line for a movie theater or a grocery store or any public space. You would strike up a conversation or have a conversation struck up with you. That has become less and less socially acceptable. Sure, right? But this idea that being loud in public is low class isn't due to socioeconomics, but more the idea that it is infringing upon the space of others if you make yourself a spectacle.
No, I'm saying that I hear what you're saying. I'm saying that being exposed to the sonic environment is a thing that only poor people have to do. That's the expression. It's not that making the noises. It's that, okay, even in
if
the
you're
conversation,
super poor, you have a phone and headphones. I don't think I've never met someone so poor that except for maybe a literal unhoused person, right, and a literal homeless person, right, that doesn't at least have some sort of janky ass headphones that they wear.
I hear what you're saying. It's like the idea that that you have to be so stingy with your money, but that's even beyond it. I'm saying that in the conversation when people have it, the argument is usually people will say, we should do something about how disgusting it is outside. We should do something about how the common sonic space is not respected as belonging to everybody and shared by everybody. Most liberal people, because this isn't just like conservatives, like I think both conservatives and have abandoned it. The liberal response is usually the idea that the public belongs to the people who are most poor, that cleaning up the homeless encampments and forcing people to try and actually do something to recover and to get back on track with their life is fascistic and brutal instead of it being tough love. When you say the reason that because this is my theory on a majority of homeless people, is that they have given up on life. And this is from being homeless, working with homeless people, talking with all different varieties. The people that stay perpetually homeless, not the people who like are in a hotel for a little bit and get back on, the people who are perpetually homeless, they have given up. They don't love themselves. They don't think that a real life is something that the effort's not worth it. They haven't had a taste of it in a long time, for one. They also might hate themselves. We have to go into how much of it is mental, negative versus a lack of positive. But it's like, number one, I think it's totally reasonable to say that we should force people to be inside of a program if they are homeless to be improving. You should like it. I don't know if I'm gonna say you should go to jail, but I'm saying like at a certain point, if you are sleeping and this attitude, because I am a liberal, this attitude that leaving people to rot in a public park is the caring thing to do is insane. And this attitude is spread across the left way, way, way too hard. That is neglect. That is like leaving a child in the target. It's like leaving a gun unlocked. The most recent news story, right? This fucking
We're gonna talk about that
parent.
next Friday, by the way. But
What? Give us a. Well, maybe you want to hide your take.
no,
Hot take right
I
now.
don't know. I don't know if the guy should be charged. I'm having Doobie counterpoints, a few others on to argue whether he should be charged, so I could decide because I don't
Do
know.
you
I
know
could see
whether
an
or not?
argument for both. I could see
Do you
an
know?
argument
Do you know
for both.
whether or not the gun was left in the child's room
I
or
don't
if it
know
was
the
locked
details
up?
yet.
Okay. Well, you'll talk about that on that stream.
That's next week.
But it's
By the way.
this is what I'm talking about, though. In general, I think that we have decided that it is inappropriate to do tough love governance. We have brandished it as fascistic, or we have, or well, actually, which I think is a self-fulfilling prophecy because it means the only people that ever do anything about the homeless encampments then are the radical swings to the right that happen after a mass neglect of a city by a what would you call I used to say audience captured mayor, usually a person who's just like,
Audience.
oh, all these fucking people are
Is
gonna
that the correct term for someone who's worried that they're gonna get voted out? An audience captured mayor?
I would call them a cuck,
A
really,
cuck.
if I had to say the common pejorative.
I just look here. I have
They sit by
advocated-
and let the fucking anarchists run the country or run a
and
block of the city for a little bit.
I might get some hate for this from the more left leaning of my audience. I think institutionalization, forced institutionalization, was actually conceptually good. Now, the institutions as they existed were terrible, to be clear. But again, it is no kindness to just let a schizophrenic person wander, right? It is no kindness to them.
Yeah. They're eating cat shit. They're running away from people and screaming because they think that they're going to stab them. And it's like literally and they're like fucking like going on and on. They're disconnected from reality.
People are asking why is that the left anti that? Well, certain portions of the left would be anti that because it takes away their free agency. It takes away their ability to choose, right? It would be forced on them. Like if you have certain conditions, you should be, again, institutionalization, forced institutionalization. If you have an episode in public and things like that, or even private, it should be on the table. And I think
okay,
it is
the institution versus the program of forcing people to be in a form of recovery are two different things. I think what you said is definitely true of both of them, but in addition, institutions, whether or not they are disciplinary academies, whether or not they are asylums, whether or not they are essentially, I don't know what you would call the type of, I don't know the specific name that people have for rehousing. Usually that is just a type of asylum. They have not been ran well. They've been ran with very little supervision.
It's been a problem, yes, because people don't want to actually do what it takes to make them work. But what happens, like, we have had, well, I think it was Reagan. Wasn't it Reagan who got rid of the asylums in America for the most part, right?
Don't remember
I'm
right now.
I'm pretty sure it was Reagan who did that. Like, they didn't get better. They just went to jail. They just went to jail.
It is a prison. And I think the reason that the prisoners...
That's not better.
I would say that they were abused the same way that a lot of prisoners are abused. And I think that the temperament of the clinicians there is very similar to a prison guard for the reason that it is a severe injustice just to have somebody be a prison guard. Like, it sounds hard to understand, but to live in an environment like that even if you're not, even if you're allowed to leave at the end of your shift, is like insane trauma. The only way that you can really protect yourself from the terrors that happen inside of prison, even as an authority, is to exercise that authority and put up like an extreme guard
Mm.
to the point that you are cold. You are saying, when somebody is like in their jail cell and they're saying, please, can you get out of here? My bunkmate has pissed and shat the bed and it smells terrible and I'm stuck in here with him. And it's at night. You're saying, we'll deal with it in the morning, inmate. Just like, what are you going to do? Because you're thinking, I open up this door at night and the dude's going to shiv me. Like, that's the kind of fucking environment. And I think that a lot of people are thinking of the homeless problem and homeless encampments and supporting them unilaterally as the safer of two options rather than throw them in an institution. Because, okay, I used to work in a place where there was a Project 9 and there was a rumor. I can't corroborate if it's true or not. There was what was being called essentially an AIDS cult, where people were intentionally giving other people AIDS and blackmailing them, saying that they will tell everyone that they have AIDS in order to essentially enslave them to the will. There was like a gang and what people were doing is they were like pinpricking people with AIDS blood, and that there was like a bunch of people doing that. And this is the kind of shit that you hear out of homeless people's mouths when they talk about why they don't want to go into Section 8 housing. On one hand, you're like, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it's not true. It sounds fucking insane. And I have no way to corroborate, like, I have no way to prove it true or not true. Because some of the things that they say sound crazy, but are true. Such as there is a guy at the shelter who intentionally forces himself he enforces himself on women in the shelter, and the shelter does nothing about it. It sounds hard to believe that a shelter would put that much effort into trying to make lives better for people, but not like break up sexual assault. But it's been proven multiple times that this happens. So it's like you don't know what to believe and not to believe, because there is a gradation between total batshit insanity and plausible reality.
I mean,
And
look, I want the institutions, whatever they be as corruption free as possible. So I think that what that takes is
how
time,
noble.
money, and for people to actually care. Here's a problem: no one cares. Let's be real. No one gives a shit until it affects them. They don't care. Until they have a family member that has to go through this shit, they don't care. Until it becomes so prevalent on the street, they don't care. Right? And when it does become prevalent on the street, you know what happens? They just call the cops so they can arrest them. They get thrown in prison. Like the prison guards don't care. No one cares. No one tries to actually help. And so we have this problem that just keeps going worse and worse and worse because we're not willing to invest in fixing the problem. And I don't know how to change that, but I do know what I advocate for. What I advocate for is the streets are not a good place for these people. The prisons are not a good place for these people. We need a better place for these people.
Can I make a proposition?
Yes, but then we gotta.
Yeah, we'll wrap. We'll wrap. I just want to put a proposition because I do care about this a lot, and I've tried working with people on the left inside of the city that I used to work in outreach with. One of the main things that one of the first things was that I advocated for do less food drives and do more, do a laundry service. Because one of the easiest ways to it makes it easier to get a job. Having clean clothes makes you want to not hang out in dirty places. Having dirty clothes makes you not so scared to hang out in dirty places. And dirty places are the places where most of the way that you deal with the quality of life is to do drugs. Moving on from that, though, I think something similar to the end of if somebody is sleeping in a park at public and you go up to them, you would say, and you would ask them to keep on them or to be able to have a way to track, are you involved in a homeless rehabilitation program? And you would have a program that is not necessarily inpatient. It's more like you go there, you are on some kind of rehab if you have addiction. You are on some kind of attempt to gain income if you aren't. You are attempting to get disability if you need it, or mental health care if you need it. But if you are not making any of those efforts, if you're not part of a program like that, we are gonna put you in the drunk tank or a private cell until 6 a.m. the morning, because we don't want people
Sure.
sleeping out here and making no efforts to not be homeless.
Uh,
Something like that is totally amenable to
off the
me.
cuff, I can't see anything wrong with it off the top of my head, but I'd have to look into it more. Gang, we are wrapping up. We are gonna call it for the night. We've gone off on all sorts of tangents, but I think it's been fun. I always enjoy my friend Tuna
Sure.
here. If you've enjoyed this content, please like that, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We got some great shows coming up for you next week, right? So Monday, we're going to have Harmony Ginger. We're going to have Gelatinous Rube. We're going to have a couple others. They're going to be talking about a controversy in the D&D world. Someone's threatening to sue people who use the name Brownstein when they play Bronstein. Brownstein. I don't know how to pronounce it. When they play a Bronstein game of D&D, you ask, what the fuck? What's going on there? What does that mean? We're gonna talk about it Monday because apparently it's been a big to-do, right? A lot of people are being threatened, right? Like that, playing this type of D&D game is proprietary, apparently. We're gonna talk about it. That'll be fun.
Oh, hold on. So can I just check? Because my brain, the first thing I heard is Brownstein is somebody trying to like make like a racist mixture
No,
of
no, no,
black and
no.
Jewish. As
What?
this is about like property. This is about like intellectual property.
Yes, it's playing a game. It doesn't have to be Dungeons and Dragons, but playing a role-playing game where, and I'm going to be very basic with this. There's more involved in this, right? But basically, where the players act as patrons in the game, like gods, or they help build the game world, right? So apparently, if
Okay.
you've ever played a game like that and made money off of it, you could be sued by this person, right? We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna go through it. It's a weird one, but it's one that deserves to be talking about. Tuesday, we're gonna have Lonerbox and Dylan, and we're gonna have Non-Smoker, maybe someone else, and we're gonna talk about the Tenet controversy, right, in more detail. So that should be fun. So the Russia shills, that'll be a fun. Yeah, maybe Mr. Bill. We'll see. Um, Friday, we're gonna be talking about the gun incident, and the
Yeah.
father of the shooter facing charges. Should they face charges, or should they be culpable for what their child did? Um, yeah, and to what extent? Should be fun.
Noteworthy thing as maybe a point of reference, because I only learned about it earlier when I was talking with a coworker today about the Baldwin case, and there is this question of like what is firearms responsibility look like for all different domains. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see if people are consistent along that too.
What can people look forward when it comes to Tunachip? Tell people where they can find you, all that, right?
Yeah, so I am building a new schedule. I have to. I think that we're off for another week before we join back in. You can find me, pardon me, you can find me at twitch.tv/tunachip. Tuna, the fish, chip, the food. It's all food. It's all food. Come get fat with us. My plan schedule is going to be, Fairy Queen has to figure out the numbers on this, is going to be, she's doing Tuesdays. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday at 6 p.m. Now, things might change slightly because I now work a job where I'm on call. But the intent is 6 p.m. Did I say a.m.? 6 p.m. Eastern every week, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So come hang out. We do a majority of what we do is me and Fairy Queen have a podcast where we talk about topics like this, where we ask ourselves basically, what do memes or current events, conversations that people are having, what do they say about our times? We're trying to unpack what the current moment is about, both in politics and in social life. And then outside of that, my stream, we play games and we talk about life and we talk about memes and we explore the internet and just goof off. It's pretty variety. But we'd love to have you. Anyway,
Check 'em out.
check it out. Wick, are we ending?
Yeah, we're
Calls, what are
ending.
you doing?
We're
We're
ending.
ending?
I'm
Awesome.
going away. I'm gonna go eat or something, right? Maybe get a snack. Gang, remember, Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern. Should be fun. We're gonna talk about the lawsuit. It'll be great. I'll see you guys later. Bye. Say bye, bye, bye. Wave.
Ah!